Ponca Nikashi, Kanze Nikashi, Omaha Nikashi, O-gah-pah Nikashi, Ponca Nikashi, Osage Nikashi, Wadonpashki, Dalina, Hopper Ponca de Zani, Wawi Hoetikombra, de Zani, Uga'xpa, Ishbaho, Opai, Novak, She. Toa Ekipsikombra, O-Guah-Pah, She, Wajaje, Hefe, Jaje, Wita, Kahikata, Dawala, Sijo, Washtake, Abri, Wakakali, Odaha. Finally, Owena, Ila Cobra, Dali na Hopa Bay, Dali Pop, now. I just want to welcome you all to our 12th Dhegiha conference and appreciate all of you coming. And we do have a few empty chairs if anybody's looking. I'm not sure exactly how many we have registered this year, but I was going to tell you also, we have the Buffalo Calf room, and we have about 6 volunteers, and they asked me to mention that children aren't allowed to be on the grounds unattended, and in the casino or anywhere on the casino grounds, and so that's why we have adult volunteers. So if anybody would like to go in there and watch movies, it'd be better than listen to me probably. So I think they're watching Ice Age in there right now. But anyway, I want to introduce everybody. This is our introduction. And, sorry, old school, don't know how to run a new computer, but this was pretty fantastic. You just tap it, you can't slide your finger up and down. It's pretty neat. But first of all, I want to just welcome everybody and make yourselves at home there. I think the breakfast is already put up, but if you have food you need to eat, coffee and sodas are up there, water, tea. And so anyway, if you need anything, feel free to call on Dwight Howe. He's the man that's running the show this year, or me. But first of all, I'd like to recognize Linda with the Quapaw. She's on the council. Weena Supernaw, who's their chief this year, she was not able to make it. So our governor is pulling a fast one, I guess. So a lot of the chiefs are up there on the tobacco situation for us. But anyway, I'd like to come up and give our welcome address for the Quapaw.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here. It's my first time actually to be here, and I'm just looking forward to this event. On behalf of the Quapaw Nation, welcome to the 12th Annual Dhegiha Gathering on Intergenerational Learning. We are honored to have our Dhegiha family together here at Downstream Casino and Resort. What began as a language teachers conference has blossomed into a full-blown event. The only annual event where we all come together as we once were many years ago. That is good. Quapaw Nation Business Committee Chair Weena Supernaw wishes she could be here this morning. However, she is in Oklahoma City showing our tribal support for the Oklahoma State, for the Oklahoma Senate, poised to overturn Governor Stitt's veto of the compact extension that impacts so many tribes in Oklahoma. She will be here later today and for the remainder of the conference. These two events are both acts of tribal sovereignty, exercising our language as well as government-to-government relations through compacts are acts of our tribal sovereignty. We would like to thank the Dhegiha Preservation Society Board of Directors. Would you please stand and be recognized? We would like to thank all the Dhegiha leaders, Osage, Omaha, Ponca, Northern Ponca, Quapaw, and Quapaw who are present. Would you please stand and be recognized? We would like to thank Quapaw Nation Cultural Committee, Melanie Shawnee, Emma McKibben, and O-gah-pah Communications for their t-shirts and programs. Would you please stand and be recognized? We would like to thank the Downstream Casino Resort staff who are supporting this event and all the volunteers who are here to make this successful. Normally, the Legends Sports Bar and Red Steakhouse are closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. However, these two restaurants will be open from 5 to 9 both tonight and tomorrow for your enjoyment. Also, arrangements have been made for the Spiva Center for the Arts, just a few miles away in Joplin, to remain open from 5 to 7 tomorrow evening, July 25th. There are 2 exhibits you may be interested in viewing. Our 151st Quapaw Powwow through art and an exhibit of Charles Banks Wilson artwork. Father of Quapaw tribal member Carrie V. Wilson. Both of these exhibits have been received well by the community, and we hope you can stop by to enjoy them. There are some other events planned, and we will let those organizers describe them. Thank you to all the event participants. We are here to show our support and focus on the Dhegiha languages. County Day.
Thank you. That's Linda Davis on the Quapaw Council. And also Larry Mercer is president on the Quapaw Council. And we have quite a few Quapaw elders that are here too. I know I may be missing some names here. Carolyn Knott's here, Charlene Button, Aaron Gilbert, Stephen Moore, Dixie Ram, and so anyway, not sure if the rest have made it yet. Grace Good Eagles here. Okay. Betty Getke. Oh, there's Grace. Yeah. Jean Ann Lambert. Yeah.
Carrie B.
Perry B. Wilson. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming, you all. And I want to introduce our Osage language. I know one of our council people, John Maker, he may not be in here, but he's come to the event. And normally Jeffrey Standing Bear makes it, but he's under the weather. And we have our director of our language program, Braxton Reddy, here. Selena White, the program director, Dr. Herman Lookout, you guys all know Uncle Mo is here. He'll be our first speaker. Janice Carpenter, she's the principal teacher. I saw her earlier. There she is. And there's Selena. Tracy Moore is here. She's on our tour. Dana Daylight, she's a curriculum specialist. She's up to speak at this conference. Corey Maker. Christopher Cote. Let's see, Corey Maker is actually a certified language teacher, and Christopher Cote's teacher. Donna Barone's teacher. Oliver Little Jr. I don't see him here yet. He's here. Okay. Dora Williams, she's a teacher here with Osage. Robin Rulo, she's a teacher here. Tom Ashmore. We're throwing Tom out of the fence this year because he's going to speak for us. He's sitting over here. Hillary Ashmore's here also. She's a teacher. That's right. Okay. Ponca, that's her immersion school in Alaska. And I know our principal, Patrick Martin's here. And Sherry Howe, she's here, assistant teacher. Kylan Jacobs, everybody knows Kylan and Merrick and their children. Amity Bevard, not in here. And Kim Freeman, she was coming. And Megan Lyman. Lacey Hubb. Dennis King, I saw her, she's here. And Danielle Dutcher is here. And Tina Townley. Okay, there's her. And so our cultural team is Annie Hutchins is our cultural director. Sammy Lookout, Leah Big Horse, Herman Sleeper, and Isaiah, they're all over there. Also, over there, I'd like to recognize, if I miss somebody, just feel free to tell me. Kim Jenkins with Ponca Kahika, she's here, okay. And I saw Storm Brave earlier. She's around here somewhere. Here she is. And then Lynn Williams is one of our speakers. She's present also. And so the Omahas, I'm going to need some help. There's 92 Omahas that rode a couple of buses, and then Dwight and Carlton, they drove down, I think, earlier. I think the closest thing I have to the chief for the Omahas is Calvin Harlan sitting here. Calvin is the chief of tribal operations. So the Ponca tribe of Oklahoma, Oliver Littlecook, I understand, seniors under the weather, and we have a speaker here, Lewis Headman, who's been part of our Dhegiha. He's present, and speaker, Eagle Rod. I haven't seen him this morning, so anyway, he's supposed to be here. If I've missed anybody, just let me know. So the Ponca tribe of Nebraska, cultural directors Ricky Wright Jr. and his staff, so I know they're here. And if Ricky's boss is here.
Yeah, Courtney Chavez, deputy director.
Courtney, deputy director. Courtney Chavez. I'll get it right. Let's see, Charlie Under, Iron Thunder, looks like he bailed on us already. I told him I was going to throw him under the bus, but
He took off.
he took it serious. Anyhow, they have a pretty good group. I think there's 7 or 8 from northern Ponca here, so. Okay, the children's room, I was just going to tell you that I mentioned it's in the Buffalo Calf room. So Madeline Gray, TJ Redcorn, Linda Davis, Vanessa Hamilton, Susan Holland, and Heather Dismuth, I guess that's how you say that, have all volunteered for the children's room. Because they said they didn't really want kids running through the casino, so we're trying to watch them. And so, she mentioned Melanie Shawnee with communications. Melanie's been a great help here. Her niece, Emma McKibben, threw together that drawing on our t-shirts this year. Said it took her about 2 hours. So, excuse me, normally Emma's here. She's been here from the start, but she was under the weather today too. And with that, if anybody has anything they'd like to say, or we can go ahead and go into our break. And our first speaker will be Dr. Herman Lookout.
Good morning. I want to address all of you. Just had an operation, had a new hip put in. That's a big old bone. I don't know how they got it in. There's and then that tube they stick down in. I'm still trying to get over that, so I'm going to wait kind of my throat kind of rest. But I want to welcome you all here. I know when we thought about doing this, we never expected to get like this, I think. Bill's doing a good job. I'm lucky to have him. My father was born in 1906. He died in 1975. I started trying to learn the language in 72. So I had him for about 3 years. He was a fluent speaker. He died 3 months after my mother passed away. He was, I know there used to be a man that would go around our tribe interviewing all the old people around there, getting tape recordings of them, and he said my dad would, he said he'd make a good stand-up comedian because he could think of things to say. He could take a situation and find a lot of things in it, and it's funny. Pick something out and make people laugh. I knew him like that, and I didn't know how serious that man could be. Because I went to him and told him, I said, I want to go in our Native American church. He said, that's good, son. And then he's all about it. And then when I wanted to learn the language, I went to him. he never ever encouraged me to learn the language. And later I found out that that's where our people were. They always wanted us to be really educated. They wanted us to learn the white ways. They knew what was coming. And our people have always been absorbed in white ways, and it kind of diminished our ways. And I remember a lot about my father. He's the one that explained the difference with the dichotomy of Osage and English. It's a long ways from English. But our people are, nowadays our young people, they don't understand that dichotomy between Osage and English. A lot of them use translation to structure their curriculum. Takes a little bit of understanding to know those people. And my father and my mother were very acquainted with the people that was born in the 1800s. Growing up, I was raised by my grandparents. From a baby till I was 6 years old, and I went back to live with my mother and father. But I knew a lot of people that was born in the 1800s, and I respect our ways and what we did. They lived in. They knew that respect. And I didn't know that respect until I went and meet with my father. I didn't know he could be so serious. And I knew he was no funny business when he was in there conducting our meetings. Surprising. Didn't understand that because he was so serious with it. I come around, and I was a fireman. I come around and I was hitting that drum. And he saw me hitting my drum with my personal stick. He said, "Son, use that main stick." He said, "I raised you children by that, by all them articles on our altar." And I understood that. And I had Uncle Harry sitting there by him. And he backed him up on that. So I started using that main stick, and I'd go around. Anybody that's ever hit a drum in a meeting knows what I'm talking about when I say that stick goes by itself sometimes. You just hang on to it and it takes off. Goes by itself. So those kind of ways and those kind of things that we accepted were very important in my life. He explained, one time I was talking to him and I said, "How do you say soup?" And he said, "Ni." Dani. Well, I've been trying to learn Osage, and I like all the young people would think it's translatable across. I never knew that when they hear Dani, it meant something else to them. And trying to figure out what that meant to them is what's difficult now today. Because he told me, I said, "Well, Dani, that's meat water. That's kind of crude, isn't it?" He said, you ought to hear it coming the other way." I didn't know what he meant by it. But he heard it different. And that's where we're at now. We're trying to find out that difference. And you can't use just translation alone to understand this language. Because there's a lot more, because they understand it than others. Those people that speak that language, that knew it. And that's what I'm after. trying to find out what that is. And he said, well, you have to remember that. I tried to think back and all that because this language was here before the white man got here. So meat water never was a part of their understanding. It was Donnie. And we hear it different. I wish you could hear it like I hear it. And I always heard a lot of them say that. I could translate this for you, they'd always say, but you're not going to hear it like I hear it. And I was around those people that were born in the 1800s. Listening to them. And I thought I was raised by like everybody else. But my father would, and my mother, would gather us and then put our altar out. All the things that they used in the meeting, they put them out and then they would pray and then they would advise us and talk to us, my brothers and sisters. And they taught me respect. They said, you got older brothers and you got older sisters. You listen to them. And then when you had to talk, you asked them to talk for you. And I did that. Never said anything back to them. Whatever they told me, that was it. And that's the way I was raised, like that. And I heard a man not too long ago, he made a speech. He said, I'm third son. He said, I'm not allowed to say anything except refer back to my older brother. I understood that. I knew what he was talking about. And that's the way I was raised. Never talked back to him, never sassed him or anything. What they said. One time we had a Dhegiha meeting when my son was drumkeeper. I was talking, and I heard them talking in the meeting. I seen my older brothers sitting over there. They never would say anything. They'd always keep it quiet. But they would talk for him from time to time. And at one of them meetings, they called me over to just talk to them while I was sitting there. And they said, you know, we're here and we're going to talk for you if you want us to. But if you got anything to say, you say it. He told me, we're going to release you. That was back in our mom and dad's time, that way. We're going to tell you, go ahead. I said, you say what you need to say. And I was going to come and talk because they knew those old people. They knew them real well. I got in on a little bit of it. Being born in 1940, I seen a little bit of it. I seen a lot with my grandmother. Because she always had people around her. She's born in the 1800s. And all her friends were there. To understand the way they understood things. They viewed things a little different. And our days are, I know when we'd always say something, but I always had to keep quiet. When I went to meeting, I sat behind, I sat next to the wall. And couldn't say anything. They didn't allow me to see that until I'd seen how things went. They wanted me to educate myself. And I always heard them old men talk, and they'd always say, you look at it, you eat it, you find out. I didn't say that. They always said, I can't tell you anything, I can't show you anything. It's the way they were. Nowadays, we've got a lot of experts. But back then, they weren't like that. So you find out. And I tried to live as close as I can. They said in here, talking about in our meeting, they said, this is honesty in here. You can't lie to these persons. And Elder and all them persons and board, the drumstick, all that. He said, you can't lie to them. They know you. You're not gonna wait for it. They're not gonna work for you to come in like you know something. So I guess everybody goes through that experience of being humble in the meeting at some time, at some point. You get that humble, and they'll do that. But he's always had that in front of him. He said, you keep that respect in front of you, son, you'll go a long ways. And I was sitting by him one time in a meeting, and he was trying to show me something. And there's a fireman, he was up cleaning our altar, cleaning our fireplace up, getting ready to fix that fire. And we clean our heart off. We have a heart in the middle of our farm. He said, watch this when he cleans that heart. You listen to that drum. When that fireman cleaned the sweat across that heart. That drum changed. I never noticed it before, but it changed. Got to a deeper sound. And he looked at me and he said, see, you keep that heart clean, son. And you'll keep buying your mom around a long time. I really miss him. And he was always serious. I know I try to be close to it as I can, but I can't be like him. I know there's a way to name our children in there. And sometimes they come in and they're crying, they're kicking, they're screaming, and they don't understand what's going on. Then these firemen would go pick up the baby and bring him up there so my dad could name him. They'd be kicking and screaming, and he said, quick, hand him to me, they'll quit. And they'd hand him to him, and then babies would just settle down. They just start looking around, pat them all, pray for them, name them. But they settle down. Never. He had that much faith. They come screaming up to me, and they still scream when I do. I just don't have that faith, I guess. I don't have it like they did. I wish that they could. And we do a lot of things. Back then was involved in that pageant in Uga'xpa. And my brother Smokey and my dad, we load our pickup with things, camp gear, and we take our camp and we put it. Back then, in Uga'xpa was really filled up with camps. 3 sections of it. It's hard to find a place to camp. And I didn't know there's a difference between Osage camp and other camp. Say we had an Osage camp. We take furniture. We take furniture, mirrors, beds, divans, whole works, even places to cook in. And there's a big tent. We call it a camp sometimes. But we was in that pageant on smoking. $8 every time we performed in that pageant. $8, and we'd show up at Omaha or Hamilton's camp that next morning and collect our $8. That's a lot of money back there. I know one time I was so hungry there, and my dad came, and he's gonna take us to this place. There's a drive-in or something. He says the best chicken in that place. I remember Dad brought us, and I'm sitting there, and well, that chicken tastes the best. Half a chicken, usually. But that day I was so hungry, I wanted full thing. Chicken leg, breast, breast, chicken chest. Anyway. Sometimes you got 2 wings, 2 legs, 2 breasts, chest. But that was so much. My dad did that for us. I was so hungry. They don't cook chicken like that anymore. I don't know whether they buy chickens or they raise chickens different, feed them different. They don't taste that good anymore. And that was one thing that people understood that respect. My dad told me, he said, you can get anything you want in here. You ask that medicine. It'll work for you. He said, you can get anything. Anything you want, you can get it. He said, but there's one thing you gotta do. You gotta be honest. So that was right. Then he wanted me to, when I got out of school, I didn't know what I was going to school for, but then my senior year, I sat down my graduation, we had Senator Kerr talking, and all of a sudden he made sense. I barely got out of high school, B-. Didn't know what I was going for, even when I played football. I couldn't read the plays, I didn't know anything about it. I played backyard football, I liked the game, and I didn't know there was a method to it. I know I was playing defense one time, and I had some coach just yelling at me. We caught side. I was playing corner on the defense, outside linebacker. They were yelling at me. And to this day, I don't know what they were yelling at me. When the offense would run on the field, off the field, and the defense go on, I'd run out because they did. When they all gather up and run back out off the field for the offense to come on, I'd run back with them. One time I was in the huddle and I said, which way is this play going? Because it's 29 something, I don't know. And one guy said, well, if you don't know the plays, what you doing out there? I said, just tell me what side it's going. Well, that's kind of how it was. But I said at that graduation, Senator Kerr was talking and he made sense. So right after that, I wanted to learn everything. Basket weaving, tiddlywinks, whatever it was, I wanted to learn it. I wanted to learn everything. Everything about it, I wanted to learn it. But my dad wanted me to go to a military academy. Back then, there was only many still in existence. So I enrolled there. He took me there. He took me there and we met the president, Homer Ledbetter. And introduced me to Homer Ledbetter. I shook his hand and he said, that's no way to shake a hand. He said, grab a hold. Get a firm grip. And I did that. He said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So right away they were teaching me how to be. And I went there and started understanding another respect. Way to respect these non-commissioned officers. They were rough. they broke you down, and then after they broke you down, then they start building you up. You run everywhere. I didn't know what my dad got me into, but he got me into something. And they did some things that I didn't understand. They wanted me to respect them. I had to run everywhere. And they give me a room, and it's just across from the bathroom, latrine, just across that. But when I come out of my bedroom, my room, you had to walk all the way down the hall. And there's a long way from here. And then cross over and then come all the way down. And then when a non-com was, your meet a non-com, you hit the wall braced. They wanted to make sure your back was against the wall, your neck, they put your hand behind your back and make sure that you were touching. That's hard to do. Make sure your calves were touching the wall. Sometimes you'd almost pass out. Speaking of passing out, my first night, first day there, they called us down there. They called us rabbits. Bunny for short. Said, bunnies, 10-2. Then they called us down their lobby. Homesick and everything, and then they called us down there and told us how to stand at attention. And all the non-coms were laying on the van, lounge, and watching. And we had our officer talking to us. And then all of a sudden, one guy just dropped. I thought he died. He just dropped. They said, don't walk your knees. And he said, motion for that knock, and I was picking up. Pick him up and put him on the van. They laid him down at the van, and he's out. But he's looking at me. His eyes are open. I thought he's dead. He's looking at me. That's scary, being away from home and homesick. And then when you had the squad leaders and drill sergeants and all that, and sometimes they ask you to do favors for them. And they told us you couldn't do that. They weren't supposed to do that, but they did. One of them told me, he said, go in and fix my bed. So I didn't make it, you fix it. I went in his room and I said, man, I didn't think we were supposed to do this. My cousin was his roommate. He just shrugged his shoulder. He said, you can't tell because nobody tells him on anybody anymore. Because you can't do that. Just so I fixed his bed. And you know what I said? I ought to shortchange his bed. Because I didn't think I should be doing it. So he looked at me and said, go ahead, what are you going to do things? So I did that. They can't tell it because you can fix them beds. I've been short-shooted before. And fix them so tight that you can't tell them. You can bounce a coin off. So the next day at Reveille, I was in formation and this sergeant, he'd come up, got my face right there, and start yelling at me. And bawling me out. Boy, I mean, he was yelling, he was mad. Because I short-chewed his bed. He was yelling so loud at me that the other non-coms come up. They said, what are you yelling at him? He said, we short-chewed my bed. And then they all started laughing. And that made him worse. He started calling more. But that was kind of respect. And then when we went into the mess hall, You had to come to attention. That's how you did it. When you were little. And that's how you ate square meat. Put it in your mouth, and you pull it right down on the chew. And run that more about square one, go to the dream. Like that. Sometimes it takes you a long time to get to the next step. But then, all that, there was a general come down from the 5th Army. And he looked at me and he said, not me, but the whole academy. He said, how many of you don't feel like you can die? 18 years old. I wanted to hold my hand up, but I didn't know it yet. Because I felt like I couldn't die. Felt like I could win any fight. I didn't. He said, we're here. You're here. And we're here to teach you how to kill. They did. They taught me. Knew everything. 3.5-inch rocket launchers. Big caliber machine gun. Seen them cut a house somewhere. And it's about a mile away. That's how powerful their weapons are. So, but that was another form of respect. Different from what I grew up with. They I figured they're teaching me to save my life. I never had to go into the army or anything. Saw a little bit of that. They do. They teach them how to live. So it's another respect, another way to. And then after I got out there, I was want to learn everything, so I took 21. Had 21 hours my first year. 17 hours of education and 4 hours of military. And I was flunking. So they had somebody that would help me out. I don't know what they call it. They said, you'll have to drop some classes. Because I was flunking, I couldn't keep up my studying. They allowed me to work, study until midnight, usually at 10 o'clock to go to bed. But they allowed me to stay up because of the load that I had. Because I just want to learn everything. They did this, and I said, yeah, I can put that down. So they made me drop mechanics. They said, come. Mechanics is a class that requires calculus. They said, you didn't have that. And I said, no. Well, you won't run into that, so you need to drop it. So I did. And I graduated. I wanted to go to University of Wyoming. But it took a 2.7 average, and I had 2.6. So then I didn't have any place to go, so I went to a trade school. Clyde Warrior was talking to me at a Ponca, and he said, what are you doing? You want to go to college? Where are you going? I said, I'm going to a trade school. He said, that's good. He said, go there for a couple of years, and you get out, and you start making money right away. And he was right. So I did. I got a job. I got a job there and I wasn't very good. I wasn't a very good worker. Missed a lot, come in late. My boss called me into the office and he said, he said, you're late all the time, you don't get here till 10 o'clock. Sometimes you don't get here till noon. I sleep, like sleeping. And I got this job and then he called me in and he said, you're late and we kept hours on you. I guess he could have pardoned me, but he said, you're going to have to make up all these hours. He said, oh, we're going to pardon you. He said, you know what this job does? This job's more important than your family. And then here I am, and I got a wife, I got children. He said, this job puts clothes on your children's back, puts food on the table, and puts a roof over your head. So you lose this job and you can't do that. So then I learned another respect for that job. And it does. I kind of understood that because I thought family and all that. I kind of understood what he's talking about. So then that changed me. I understood that. So most of the time, us being absorbed into the white man way, it's different than hearing those people in the 1800s. So I look around and see all these young people, and they've been raised in a different respect than I can remember. So how are they going to learn to structure this language in the right way and try to find out how to do that? So I didn't. So we live in a different world. Our people, when they let go, and my dad told me a lot of things about our people. They let everything go. They didn't want us to ever talk about it. There's things our people did. We let go, we took our English and we took our, he calls it our meeting ways and our naming. We found ways to do it a more modern. They made our English to come to us as a word dance. And they turned it into a social dance. You can take that into the future. You can't take the other one in because it's too strict. They said you can get hurt by it. Because our no-hosing us. They would so reverently talk to our people, and I believe our people descended. Here to Mother Earth. Those people here came here first. No, the white man says it's a myth. I don't think so. I think our people have they all have their own creation stories. And I believe them. But the people that their offspring has been absorbed in this white man way. For some reason, God is letting it happen. For a reason, I respect that too. So I'm all about that because they talk about it so much. The respect that we have in different situations. Our jobs, our lives, and all that. Getting along with people, learning that to get along. How to navigate through life. You have to know that. You have to have a good foundation. I think I had a good foundation. And I love this, what we do here, we all get it. And studying it, I do a lot of studying, and my father told me about being part of this. He said, you don't have to get along, son. And he said, I'm not supposed to talk about anything, the old way. Too sacred. And to respect them. And it seems like our people don't respect those old ways. And I don't know whether the leaders of our people didn't enforce that respect. But now they are a little bit. So now it's going to fall back on the people doing it. And told them not to do that. They told him, that's ours. You can't do that like ours. There's too many temptations out there. You can't do all that. You can't live that. And there's no O-gah-pah. They deliver their message so reverently. And we made, when they come down, they try to structure in our government. Always kept us in touch of Ponca. Put it in our government. I understood that it's part of our government. White man, you can't do that. You can't put Wakanda in this government. I guess because of the almighty dollar, because it takes a lot. Sometimes you have to do things to require it. So it's not going to work in there. But here again, we have a respect that we brought up. Even people told me to, when you apply for a job, you got to brag on yourself. You got to act like you know something. I said, you don't have to know it usually, but you have to brag on yourself to get the job. It's so competitive out there. And I feel sorry for our people. I'm very for our people, especially our young Native Americans. Because I used to hear my grandmother say, I don't know what Copichi's going to do when I pass away. I guess they're going to have to throw him in there with me. And I'll be on the floor playing with the toy or something. Now I understand that. My grandkids. Sometimes I look at them and I feel sorry for them. That's that love and respect and all that all screw up. God did that. He gave me all that. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. You know, my brother one time, I was crying. He said, it's good to cry. It means you had something. He said, it's better to have it than not grow up and not have it. I guess we all have to go through things, trials and tribulations of life. But that still works. That old time respect, it still works. And like this, I'm always talking. It's really nice to see you, all of you. I wish the people that in here that don't know that, I wish they could see this. Because this is the way our people used to be. They knew how to talk to each other. They knew how to express themselves, and they got along. It's a very humbling to be part of this. And I want to wish you all well. I'm glad we're here. It's always good to see all of you. And I enjoy it here. And I want it to continue. I pray that it'll continue. Intati. No O-gah-pah. No O-gah-pah. Hakuira. Haka. Hakis. Hakis. Ekipshakon. Hinoshi. Oichoshka. Kaita. Kaita. So, Olimi O-gah-pah. Moenoshki. So, but Olimi O-gah-pah. Ojika. Eshkita. Ojika Eshkita. All that too. Hapata. Other could tell. Here, what keeps you? Thank you for listening.
Wait, Don, somebody, Don, so interestingly, Uga'xpa Nikashinga Iyagya-kahe, somebody on Ganchinde Virache Wevita, Jaje Vitache, Ganze Jaje Vitache, Yamba Vita, Mami Danga Jaje Vitache, Desiree Swan Ganze Lee, Ganze Pierre, Joba, Ipapo Akare, Ganze Iye Paposkabli, Inawita Ba, Ganze Ni, Gano Mambe, Indaje, Ita Aba, Wajaji Ilopa, Gipse. Hamba Ye, Ganze Iye Oakikie, Ganze Iye Paposkabli, Ganze Iye Paposka, Yabli Abli. Paposka Wita Susie Smith. She's my curriculum specialist. I'm the Ganze language director and teacher. This year we were able to add another teacher who helped me with my PowerPoint. Her name is Samantha Smith. And we've also gained an intern this summer. Our tribe is doing a summer internship for our youth. And I was lucky enough to grab one of my students, and she's also helping with our curriculum and making bulletin boards and a lot of stuff that's going to help us teach our English. And so Today that's what I'm going to talk about. My presentation is over teaching creative curriculum for practical application. A little bit about myself. I learned my language from a linguist, Justin McBride, or Dr. Justin McBride, and how I'm able to teach my language and speak a little bit of my language is from my great-grandmother, Maud Macaulay, or Monroe, and she, in the 70s, worked with a linguist. His name was Dr. Bob Rankin. He was from KU, and he would come to Shidler, Oklahoma, where my great-grandma Maud lived, and he would work with her making a dictionary, and that dictionary successfully preserved our Uga'xpa, our language today. And so it means a lot to me to be able to follow up on that and keep it going like she had wanted long ago. And presently today, we have a pretty strong program. One of our departments is in Quapaw City, Oklahoma, and then I call it my youth language department, and that's in Newkirk, Oklahoma. Quapaw City is not very big, so a lot of our students commute to there. Newkirk, Oklahoma is it's a little bit bigger, but not that big if you've never been there. And we work with different school districts, and we work with Ponca City. We have students from Ponca City High School. I bring students from Shidler, Headman, Newkirk, and is that all of them? And so this is the first year we've actually tried to step into public schools, and I taught at Shidler Public Schools. That's where I graduated from, and I taught there from January till spring break, and that went over really well. So I'm going to show you that curriculum, and I just want to brag a little bit about my curriculum specialist, Susie Smith. She is Gonze and Wajaji as well, like me, and my new teacher is her daughter, and so it means a lot to us, and we put our heart into this, and our curriculum is just, I'm very grateful for that. So let me begin. So I call this immersion class. I try to speak Gonze or as much Gonze as I can. I hold this class on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10:30 in the morning till 12:30, and we feed them wanoble. We give them lunch, and we have a routine that we start with, and we start with our numbers, our wayawa, and they start counting, and then I start throwing them like bean bags and stuff, different colors, and they start saying those, and then they throw them back at me. And we just have a routine that we follow. And in the summertime is our time that we can really teach them a lot and have the most time with them, because all of our students come to immersion class at the Pollination Library in Quapaw City in the summertime because school's out. And so they come there and they learn as much as they can, and then they go back to school and they forget a little bit of it. So it takes about 2 weeks, and they'll get back to the same level. I've had some of these students since they were babies. Declan, he was one of my first immersion students, and I had him when he was 8 months old, and now he is 8 years old. And so a lot of these are my own kids, and then kids from Quapaw City, because there's not a lot for people to do there. So that's one of our advantages, is they can send them to language class. So on here they made Jotong or Johi box, and they're learning about different animals. Something we started this summer was Hamba Wajuta and Ham Wajuta. So you got your daytime animals and your nighttime animals. And they learned all of those, and then we put them all into a hat, and then made them play Wajipani, which I presented about that. Wajipani is a game that me and my brother came up with when we were learning Gonze when we were little. And I made them play that, and they really liked it. And we started to incorporate more games with our little ones. Kaposka Susie's come up with Jeopardy, and what else did we do? Family Feud. I think O-gah-pah delegate or something like that. And so these guys are really fun. It's one of my favorite classes. And let me show you some of that. We also have a garden that we started. This is a strawberry patch that we planted 4 years ago, and so now it's really big and it comes back every year. It's something we can educate our kids with, the names and planting. So we have Ponca for strawberry, O-ju to plant. In the other picture, we have Uga'xpa, which is squash, and we plant all of this in front of the library. And the kids really like to learn from it, and they take care of it, and they water it, they learn responsibilities, and then they get to see the result, which is their strawberries. They have tomatoes, squash, onions. That's just at the library, and then they take all of those to our elders at our Title VI, our elders lunchroom, and then we teach them what the words are and share those with them. So that's my nephew, little Dewey. When I was 7 years old, and Dewey, my brother, was 6 years old. That's when my mom sent us to Dr. Justin McBride, which is the linguist, and he worked with us until we graduated high school. And so that's his son right there. And then the boy behind him is Declan Clark. That's my other nephew, and he's been in language class since he was 8 months old. So they come back, and I make it fun for them, so they will come back. And they're making little bags right there. That's what we put our produce in, and we take it to our elders. It has some language on that. And we picked a bunch of potatoes because they let me make a asilo de tonga out of the powwow grounds, a big garden. And we dug up, I think, like 250 potatoes because I made them count them. And then we put them all in those bags, and we took them over there, and we were able to tell our Gonze Nikishinga that we grew those out there at Washunga, Oklahoma, which, if you don't know that, that's our first reservation. When we were removed from Council Grove, Kansas was our last spot, and we were removed from there in 1876, and then we were brought here to Oklahoma, Washunga, Oklahoma. And then I think in the 70s, the Army Corps of Engineers came in and removed us from there and made a big lake out of it. And so our reservation is underwater, except for what we have now, Caw City, the Kirk area. But it feels good. It makes our elders feel good to see those names of things like it used to be. It ties you back to home. That's them eating their wanole. That's my wehe right there in the middle, making that crazy face. It tells you everything about wehe. And Maxwell, that's my Ulopa holding that little tomato. And that's my niece Sterling eating the tomato. But we have a lot of fun in there. I think one of our favorite crafts is we're always trying to do something new, or I'll be going through our dictionary or something, and I'll find something in just one word, and you can create a whole lesson from it, culturally, modern, like whatever you're trying to go with, it's there. You just gotta think about it. And so that in that pan, I try to tell them that Gonze people, we don't waste. We use everything. And so the immersion class before this, I think this is a Wednesday, so on Monday we picked a lot of Ponca strawberries. And then none of them took them home. They just sat there. And so Wednesday they came back and the strawberries are all hairy and gross. And so I was like, we don't waste. When you guys pick these off of here, you need to take them home. And they said, oh, okay. And so what we did was we made Igama paint. And we started making different colors of paint and started researching on how native people made paint, and paint was very special. It was used for ceremony. Yellow paint is used for Sundance. Blue paint is rare. O-gah-pah, so they used those for different ceremonies. They didn't have a lot of that, so I had to come by or make. But we made O-gah-pah red paint, and it smelled really good. It was pretty watery, so we had to get better, like scientists in there trying to pick it up. And that's one of their and out. But we were trying to make O-gah-pah Dhegiha, which is red paint. And I said, okay, so let's go outside and you guys pick anything Dhegiha you see. And so we go outside and there's dandelions everywhere. And then there's our Uga'xpa, our big squash plant. And Lehe runs right out there, grabs one of those big yellow squash flowers and said, I got one. And I was like, yes, okay, put it in there. And then they start picking everything else. And then I think my son, Max, he picked a tomato, ate it, and he put it in that bowl too. And so that turned out a very interesting color. So right here, we were teaching them Oju to plant. Our language department was also granted an Endangered Language Fund grant, which is an ELF grant is what I call it. And so I'm teaching them to plant, and there's more to it about those seeds that she's using. But we were just playing around that day. I think I went and grabbed some dirt from outside and brought it in, and they had fun with that. I'll tell you more about that later on. But in the middle, that's Maxwell. I'm very grateful for all the locations that my people provide me. I have a classroom in Cost City at the library, and that's pretty big. I can host like community meetings if I needed to for grants and different things. And then in Newkirk, that spot's really cool because we have a classroom, and then right next to us is a big basketball gymnasium that they play kickball in as a team. And then our tribal youth programs connected. And then my favorite location is at the powwow grounds. And that's like really sacred to our people, those powwow grounds. It's the only place we have to go back to out with Shunga. And they have an outdoor classroom there. And you can see on that chalkboard, if you can see it, we were going over the different names of vegetables that we were going to plant out there. To the top, you see Doska, Dole, you can see Ponca, Quapaw, but different things. And we were going over those out there and gave it more of a meaning. And something about that day I remembered is one of my students, her name is Remy, and we had been talking about this health grant we were trying to get, which would fund our garden and things we needed for 2023 and 2024. And we got it, and something we said in that grant was that we would find old crops and things that we used to grow. And so something we used to forage and get was what was called prairie potatoes. And they're like really small potatoes. And that day we were out there, we were digging around, and we actually dug some up. We found a whole patch of them. And I was like, that's a gift, I guess. And so we continued it, and now we're doing a lot with our gardens. Beginners class is a class I teach over Zoom. And even if any of you are interested, I would just need your email, and then I could send you that link, and you can watch me. This is one of our first classes that we offered over Zoom, and we had to learn how to do that and get equipped for that because of the pandemic, and we couldn't have in-person classes, so we started figuring out how to do that. This is part of our alphabet. We have 36 different sounds in our alphabet. We don't have an orthography, so we just formed the English alphabet and use those to relate to us. Something cool about this alphabet chart is it has our sounds like ah, on, ba, ja, cha, da, e, ga. I go all the way through. But each one has an example in Gonze Iye. So just by this chart, you're gonna get 36 free words in Gonze Iye. And so like as in akida, as in ishtapijiabli, mazeska, bazani, jidonga. But that's a good way to get a lot of words out at once and teaching them the sounds. It also has the English things if a learner needs to relate that to an English sounding word. I know that Mowgli's presentation, it was like, we're starting to teach with our English incorporated into that, and I don't know how to get away from that. Just how I was raised, how I was taught in school, it's different. But this is the rest of our alphabet here, and then it gives some information down here, the difference between how men and women say hello and those sounds. Introductions, these are simple. Hawe for female speakers, ho, and jaji witache, kedaji pinke. These are wayawa, mirchi, namba, yabli, dova, satom, shape, beomba, kidova, shanka, leglo. And that's what we make every one of our immersion students start off with that. They'll have to count alone. But then we also have like learning songs that go along with these. It's embarrassing, but okay. It's like, it goes to You Are My Sunshine. So, mirchi, namba, yabli, dova, satom, shape, beomba. So you guys get it. It goes on, and then the end it says Shie wa da mi te, and all the kids say, "What's that say?" And I said, "We're gonna sit here and sing this again." But we try to come up with fun songs for them to learn. It helps it stick into their brains. This is our Soje colors. I bet they look a lot like some of you guys' colors. I always tell the kids when they're learning these, well, there's Mahi Ego. Mahi is grass. Ego is to be like something. And then his sister, Bazo Ego. Bazo is a berry, and Ego is to be like something. Then I'll do the same thing. There's Sabe and his brother Shabe. And there's Zihi and his brother Jihi. And so we just go around and they remember that. Wajita, these are just our basic Wajita. They should know all these, but then I start pulling out like horned toad or snapping turtle and start changing it up on them, and then they end up learning a lot more. Mincho, Jape, Chidonga, Wajinga, Ilongainga, Sika, Cheska, Da. And there's more that you can go along with just teaching them Da. We have a Da Dhegiha deer clan, and then that breaks down into two different people in that clan, two different sides of that. Singing groups, and there's just a lot you can do. You can't just look at one word and say, oh, that's Singa, and that's it. Well, Singa, I don't know about that. But, there's a lot if you just dig for it. Oahu, Ichigo, Iko, Shimihinga, Shidohinga, Inong, Indaji. So all right now we're just teaching our beginners and our Jinga. And so you notice that just says girl and that just says boy, because we all know that that's either a Wihe, a Minanga, or a Ilomba, Shonka. You gotta break it down. So this is this most simple way I can get that to them right now. But when they reach that point, then we'll start going into those birth order names. This is one of the first things I ever made. But I still use that. It's to explain our word order and the way our sentences go. Quapaw, that's our subject. And in Dhegiha, our sentences follow subject, object, verb. And so your subject is first, which is the Quapaw. The object is the thing that something's being done to it, and that's the grass, it's being ate. And then verb, to eat. Quapaw monkey Uga'xpa. And that's a simple sentence. You don't have to add in the subject markers and things. They're gonna use that, and that's gonna stick with them as they learn more and learn how to add those other things. These are the common words used in our classroom: yali, kiji, hawe, ho, kedaji. We don't make that. Like usually you would say we don't make the akahe because I'm standing or I'm sitting, but we leave those off. But in the next round we'll add those on. Weeblahan, shie, hana, Ponca, and donhe. Would you say donhe? Donhe. Okay, so Taposka Susie, right here, Taposka Susie, she started making more fun because that was something when I was learning how to speak Dhegiha, our curriculum was pretty hard, and even when our Taposka would try to make it fun, it was still a challenge for him. So these can be used for our elders packets, our youth, and pretty much any classroom except for our immersion class. We don't really do those with kids. But it's a way to learn vocabulary. Like this one, wajuta. This has all of the wajuta on it that we went over. Those are kind of tricky to make them because you got to put in the symbols and make it look like a crossword. Or this is the crosswords actually, that's one section. This is a fun way to incorporate everything you learned in your lesson into like a game. And so U form of standing is that. We got kashe for us. I form of standing, akahe. We can't, but you would find those crossword work, but that's fun to add into our lessons. I have a mommy and me class, and I started this, I think, like 4 years ago, and it was or did we only do this on Zoom? Yeah, we've had in-person classes, and now it's just a Zoom class, and it's fun because she'll be sitting there listening, and then here comes the Shiva again. They'll hold up their dog in front of the camera and like run off again, but they'll be saying everything with their mom, and they're just in and out. I think that's just how we learn. This was a mommy and me lesson Saito back in 2021. Had some wajuta on there, and then we started talking about the bow and arrows and the pieces of that. The verb of the week that week, we try to get to the verb of the week, and that helps out because there's a lot of ways it can break down. And so we just teach the I form, U form, and he, she, and it form, we form, and that's kind of where we stop. And unless we need it, then we keep going for these classes. And so these are the phrases that we were able to make using the vocabulary from our lesson. So we have kuya, ikan, aba, aku, ayin, aba. And so that's the eagle and the owl have wings. And then Ma's abling maji wingke. I don't have any money. Maze ishto ita akihine. Do you know, or do you have your glasses? Yes or no? And then over here, we make them apply that themselves. And so the boy has a bow and arrow, and they'll translate that back to Gonzaiye. And then we have a short conversation down here between two characters, Shirohinga and Shimihinga. The first one is Rominje Monguje Shkopnakien. And then Shimihinga Honkashi Mongisu Abli Marshi Apake. And we'll just translate those with them. There's more of our same curriculum for our mommy and me classes. Mirchi Shetanga Juje Abliminke. But the top of that says read and translate with your Jingahinga or Jinga and have them circle the correct answers. And so this is something you can work with your baby with and making sure that they're picking up what they're putting down with the lesson. So Shetanga Juje Abliminke. A lot of times they can't figure out that whole sentence, but when they see Shetanga, they're gonna point at the apple. Or they're gonna hear Juje and they're just gonna start pointing at everything red. But then that's when you can explain it, and that's a bond between a mom and a baby, and with their language, that's pretty special. And so Nomba, do you see a brown owl? Would that be Ikan Sha Be Iya Yehiye? And they look for the Ikan. Then we move it. We put the sentence back in Gonzaiye. Iha Streje Mahie do Tongwaminke. Our Gonzaiye word for alligator is Iha Streje. And then Doha is Dabe Jihi Ahni Peke on the orange ball. And she has 2 blue flowers. We say Hwanomba Toho Ahi. Then down here it uses all of the pictures. It says how many pictures can you name in Gonzaiye, and then they'll go over all of that vocab. Over here is more translation. Oh, yeah. Mommy and me, this is lesson 10, so we're getting further down the road on this one. So our verb was to walk, ma'in, I walk, mongli, and mohni. So once you learn those verbs and their forms, then you start applying those further in the lesson for our phrases. O-gah-pah, O-gah-pah. That's from a Gonzaiye story called The Old Man and the Snake. It has a chiquitanga in it. And he's telling that snake, he says, or actually the snake is telling chiquitanga, go walk over there. And the old man says, no, you go a different way. And then the snake says, well, he says, I'm going to kick you. And that snake says, well, if you kick me, I'm going to bite you. And he doesn't listen to the Wet'sup at all. And so just that, what happened, he kicks the Wet'sup and the Wet'sup bites his leg, and then he swells up and goes to live with Quapaw. So we use those stories in our lessons, and anytime we can fit them in, we try to, because that's part of our oral history. And that's kind of a big reason why our Gonzaiye kind of fizzled out for a while, is because our elders and our people, they stopped talking about their history and sharing those types of stories, and so no one wrote them down really, and so it's important to try to revive that and do that today, and I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, this is our mommy and me lesson. we started to add adverbs because it's very hard to speak without using adverbs and things like that. And so down here, it tells them adverb Dhegiha over there. And then the other new adverb we added in this lesson was cheji. And then we used wetza, wayumichi, which is a store, and binange, car. Over here it says Dhegiha shohinga maniaka. So the dog was walking over there. And then Igachi cheji mahni. We walked to grandma's house. Cheji to Koyachi Rita Cheji Mamiakahe. And now it says Koya friend's house. My friend's house, I walked to my friend's house. Sorry, I did it backwards. And then we also teach them, you have to teach them the not side of that verb too, the not suffix. And so either I walked or I did not walk. So you get mambling or mambling maji. And we make them put those up there so they remember it, which the T-shirt form on those knots is just ji. The I form is maji, and the U form is aji. And when I explain that, I always say, well, it starts out with an M, and then the M falls off, and then the A falls off, and so you just get a sheep. But there's different ways you can put that, I'm sure. These are pretty cool. I like using these. It's a fun way to kind of expose our Indian children. Like I use these at Shidler School, and I pass them out whenever I can, even when I just see little kids. It's a fun way to teach them their soje, their colors. And so it's a color by number, so they're going to learn their wayawa as well. And so, like, mirchi, mahiego, yombazani, shabe, all the twos need to be shabe, all the threes need to be shute. But you guys know how color by numbers work, but I love those. Those are fun. And that's something that Kaboska Susie came up with. This next bit of curriculum is used for our Donze Kaposkachi and their teachers. And so on Tuesdays, I go into the daycares. We have 2 daycares, and it takes 2 sessions. So I'll teach from 1 to 2. I teach from 1 to 1:30, and then 1:30 to 2. And I teach them a full lesson, and then they really do take this and apply it in their classrooms. I'm pretty grateful for those teachers. They have an understanding of how important it is for us to teach our Donze Jingishiga their language. And they're always putting it in somewhere, anywhere they can. And I appreciate that. So on this lesson, we started them off, let's see, March 7th. Is there 11 lessons in that set? Okay. So this up here, we start with the not suffixes, maji, aji, and ji. And then to know, that was their verb, that was ibahon. And they learned how to conjugate that those 3 ways, ibahon, ibahon, ishbahon. And then we've got some inquiry words, or we got hagoha for where, gasida, tomorrow, da indicates that it will happen. And right here it asks to change ipahon to I don't know. So then that's when they have to go back to the top and figure out which not suffix to add to that. So everything has to match. Matchy with those. So you get ipahomashi. And then your U form of that would go to ishpahomaji. And so they're learning a lot and they don't even know it. But this is one of our teaching lessons. They're learning to put those words in order too, right there in that next one. Gasido, that's tomorrow, it's going to come first. Ishbahon, you know, Da, Will, and Pinke, you're sitting there. So tomorrow you will know. This one, change the above sentence using a negative suffix in different verb forms. I see Hagopa, Hombe Sheje, Ibahonji. She doesn't know where her boots are. What is that? So these are still our teacher lessons, and this one has a crossword on it. So they review their not suffixes and their verb of the week still, and then at the end of that lesson that we went over last slide, they have a crossword to do to even push that vocab further into their brains. And then I went to Shiloh School. So it's just it's so odd sometimes to go to a school that's in between two reservations. Like they're surrounded by Native people, and their awareness of Native people and how they live, and that they even have their own language is non-existent. Like it's wild to me. I would get some of the craziest questions about Indians, and so I'm happy that I started doing that because obviously it was a need. And so this is some of their lessons and things that we taught about our Gonze Nikishinga. I know that Shidler, if you knew, is in the Wajaji reservation in their district, but they went ahead and let me come over and start teaching Gonze there. We have a lot of Gonze Nikishinga that have graduated from Shidler and still attend Shidler. That's where my little kids go, and my brother's kids and my sister's kids and everybody. But so let me show you what I taught them. On this one, and we try to keep it simple because I would have, I think, 15 minutes in each classroom, and I went over there on Mondays and Wednesdays right after immersion class. So I would jump in and go to Shidler, and I'd get 15 minutes in each classroom. And it also made me happy too because my immersion students leave immersion class and go back to school, and I don't see them for a whole school year unless on fall break, spring break, stuff like that. But by doing this, I got to go into their classroom and see them, and they were just happy, and they're like, oh yeah, my friends are gonna know how to talk Gonze Ian too, and so it was special. Anyway, this one says, Gonze Wak-O called women and Shinga children planted and harvested crops for the tribe. They gave their Wakozu corn to other tribes in need. And that was something that was said about the Gonze people, is they really knew how to grow corn. You guys should have seen the corn that I grew this year. What about that? But anyway, they would grow so much corn and they'd have so much left over, and the other tribes around us up there in Kansas, they would know that, and they would come to the Gonze people and get corn from us, and we would give away too much corn, and we'd short ourselves through the winter because we gave away so much corn. And I think that's just part of being Gonze. And so this one, Oju, to plant Wakozu corn, Asilale crops, Mayunga, dirt, soil, earth, Badohinga, mounds of dirt. There's some things you gotta plant in the mound. This is another part of their lesson. Circle all the nouns and underline all the verbs. That's pretty easy, but Wakozu, corn, so you find all the corn, but kids like to do this kind of stuff. And so Mayunga, we gotta find Badohinga, I guess, but what does this say? Oh, you're trying to look for the hidden corn. Gets me every time. Mahiego, the next one, circle all the things that are Mahiego. got a chord maze. And then we slip in our word order again. Place the following words in order to form a sentence. You have Mayinka, Shabe, Hi. Mayinka, dirt or earth. Shabe, brown. Hi, it is. So dirt is brown. Wakozu, Oyaju, you plant corn. That one's easy. So all of that, this stuff right here is my pre-K through second grade. And then this is the 3rd through 5th grade. I go in there on Wednesdays, 15 minutes in each class. So traditionally, it was responsibility of the Ganze Wako women and engaging their children to Oshu, plant and harvest the asila land, the crops, which supplemented their main food source, Chidonga. And so, right there, the same words that I used with the little ones. And then on here, they have the same activities, except for this one's a little bit more challenging. Did you crack the code, and what does the sentence say? Ipaomashi. I don't remember. I thought it did. Oh, and at the end of me teaching there, we did a mini powwow just to kind of immerse them in our culture, and that was pretty fun. And I had to teach them about the importance of two cultures, because when I went to Scheidler, it was, I don't know, it's the same way as when I left it. And so they performed in this powwow, and all the kids were just in awe. And I knew that these few Native kids would have to go back into their classrooms where they're probably the only one in there, or they have a few others, but the other ones they didn't perform. But anyway, I had to tell them the importance of Native culture and just what makes a Scheidler tiger a Scheidler tiger. Because when you go to Scheidler, it's full of cowboys and ranches and day workers, and then you got the oil workers, and you got some natives in there too. And so I tried to explain them that they have two different important cultures, because a lot of times, like without cowboys, we wouldn't have beef, and we wouldn't have things that we need, and so that they're all the cultures there are important, and together that's what makes them a Scheidler tiger. They're just like, wow. And we did this powwow for them, and they really loved it, and kind of got to showcase some of those students. And then we had some Wajaji students that also participated with us, and they got bragging rights too, and that was just really cool for them. I'm glad it didn't single them out. A lot of times when I was at Scheidler, as anything Native, they'd all look at me, and I'd be like, the land around or anything else, and it was me. And so it was just really good to make them feel special and go back to class like that. That's my niece in the jingle dress. Her name's Patsy Buffalo Head. Up there is my nephew and some other students, and Weehey and my niece Sterling Donaldson. The Title VI Elder Packet. We've been trying to make these fun for years. I'm just kidding. So starts out again with the verb to know. Then it explains it, how it breaks down. It's a be verb. Along with the verb ibahon, we will also learn the particle for not. So we kind of stick to the same thing and stick to a verb a week and slip in adverbs and anything else we can do and get across to them. So this is Let's talk Dhegiha. So this is giving them some useful phrases to use at home. Tomorrow I will know Gasida Ipa Honda Apahe. And then they get a crossword as well with their lesson. And we send those with their lunch once a month. And so they get it even if they say I don't want it, it's unfortunately. And so we keep up with those, and that's a way to reach all of our, an easy way to reach most of our gongs and elders. I'm in charge of pilot class, and so my curriculum sounds pretty easy, and it's crazy. So pilot class is a class that has been going on since I was little, and it still has the same 2 students in there. I think they're like 77 now at this point. And so this class is more of a study hall. We do a lot of we review a lot and keep everything as fresh as we can in our minds in that class. And we do a lot of like public relations or something like. I always get all these wild things like Topeka wants the name of exhibit and children's museum or something, and I'll be all right, pilot class. Let's think of something, and they usually do it, and I run it past them. I don't have a lot of elders already that I know that speak on Dhegiha. These guys, they've been in class for 25 years now, and so they're pretty resourceful, and I'm pretty grateful for them in that class to absolutely be on. It's been in there for a long time. So we call it pilot class. It's our longest lasting class. We go over things like this and review things from our dictionary. This is sound words and where they apply in our language and what they mean. Oh, we were asked to name a comet or a star for somewhere in Kansas, and man, I don't remember what that was. We had to name something in space, and so I was calling them the space team. That's why I said that. And Mission Boy. But we didn't have very much research on space. We know what Venus is. That's in our song chart. We know that some days, O-gah-pah, that's where we're from. We know some days, but we didn't know everything that they wanted us or thought we would know. And so we didn't get that sent in on time because we didn't want to send something that was just halfway. And so that's what this class does. And they're pretty good at it. I think right now we're trying to look at the Voices of the Wind People pageant, which is a play or skit they have in Council Grove, Kansas, where we were removed from in 1876. And they do a storytelling, and they tell the people of Council Grove tell our story, and we're just there acting in it and getting cued, cry or say something or come out and dance around this fire, hurry, and then they continue and tell the rest of that story. And so I think it's important to me and to the Gons and Hikishimu that we get a little bit more say in that script or something. And so what we're trying to do is research that enough, because you don't want to jump into anything without being sure and having language inserted in there, because sometimes in fact they don't pronounce our words right, or they say them in like a derogatory way, and it's just if we can slip the correct thing in there or get in there somehow. But that's a long ways down the road. But we're trying to figure out how to do that. It's just keeping their mind busy and keeping them interested in different things. So. Oh, this is one of my students, Elena Eagle King. She also comes to pilot class to learn with the 2 elder students. And she was just doing some research with our clan book about O-gah-pah, which is a big difference. And then this one, But we're trying to come up with words about space and anything to do with the sky. So we had star constellations, which we have some of those and what they mean. Moon, sun, has to do with praying. Clouds, wind, rain, Yushu. And then we also have some personal names that go along with that. Clans, the sky people. There's just a lot you can relate to that. We were trying to get a lot of information at once. This came off of, I think Eagle Rod was showing the Ponca in the new app. And I think he did it here last year. And so I kind of took those and I was like, well, do you guys know each of those words like that was on there? And so that was another way we could strengthen our knowledge is by using that. We don't really have an app right now, but that's something that we're working on and a goal we have. This is just an example of more things that we do in that class. Random things, but they're important. These are different types of stars that we studied. Uga'xpa, that's how we say star. Uga'xpa, Uga'xpa, So the star was throwing sparks, so it's like a falling star, shooting star, comet. Moshita, heaven. That's the word for heaven. We went over this one. This was different moon phases. I still can't tell you if it's a waxing moon or a waning moon. Maybe 11. But this was pretty hard. And this started because of that health grant, and I was starting to have to do a lot of gardening. And if you open up the Farmer's Almanac, it starts talking about these moons and different phases, and there's other things that are related to moon phases and things that we do. And so it was important to familiarize ourselves with this. These are other things vocab that I grabbed from just looking up moon in the dictionary. There's a lot of different things. And Dhegiha and probably in Uga'xpa, there's different ways to say directions. There's north. Among Dhegiha, you have north, south, east, and west, and then these ones are different. And they're words for, it's in the right way, north. The way the sun goes with you, we hear. We also have a sun carrier clan. Mikina, hitting the face as the sun, practice with fasting, and then Yomba Washi, which is sun dance. I always call these brain slingers, brain fingers, but it's what I open up class with, and they'll look at these phrases and then they'll translate these. The first one showing the O-gah-pah, the dog is barking. And then this one I stole from one of our traditional stories. Ichikidaga miaya ba gaha keji aya ba pe wetsam iabe. And they'll know some of those because we also study a lot of our traditional stories. They are a huge part of our language competition, this pilot classes. They work on every scale. I think last year we had 25 students participating, and a majority of them were all just individual performances. And so we translated those there in pilot class. And we also have to, after we get home from language fair, well, before we even go, we have a rehearsal and invite our people. And then after that, we have, we perform for our general council, which is a meeting we hold and or it's held by the tribe, and the general council come. We perform for them, cook for them. Like I said, we were given an intern, Brandy Wood, and she's really good. She's been my student since she was 10 years old, and she's 17. She's getting all sad because she graduates this year. She's about to be a senior. and lead the little kid language department. But she hopes she's gonna go to college and she wants to get a degree in early childhood development and come back to the language department. And I hope I can promote big enough for that. But for the summer of 2023, the Dhegiha department got an intern who has been a most excellent asset, and she helped us organize Washunga Day's camping trip, which the coordination has another powwow up in Council Grove, Kansas, that is hosted by those people. And we go up there and dance, and we have an arbor and some land up there. And it's really nice powwow, but we also have some camping grounds, very primitive camping grounds in the woods by that dance arbor. And so I took a group of our language students there to camp this year, and it was fun. We had some really good experiences. We got to swim in the creek behind there, and we made a fish basket to trap fish. And it took a lot of organizing to get us all there, get us transportation, tents, cots, mountain bikes, little bike trailers so I can carry my kids around behind me. But, and then on these points here, she also organized our skit for Charlie Adams Day. Charlie Adams Day is a celebration in the town of Newkirk. And my language team, Tajik Sage, they go there to perform and share our language with that community and just let that community know that we're still there and that we're proud of that, and they love us. We're already invited to come back this year, and Brandy worked on a skit, one of our traditional stories, and like I said, our history is taught by, it's oral history, so you gotta be able to tell those stories and things, and that's what Brandy did in immersion class. I was going to tell that story to them, and then I said, no, hold on, Brandy, you tell that story to immersion class, and she just ripped it off, started going, and I was like, that's good, that's exactly what I wanted, and so I know I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna keep going through these. This is some of Brandy's work with the that she's done, and we also tried to get an A&A grant, but we decided not to do that. I got cool pictures. They're trying to make me stop talking. This is our survey. We did a survey because those are important and easy to make. They help you get statistics that you need to help fill out your grant. This is part of our ELF grant and our curriculum for that. Tried to find the medicinal usage of plants that we have and where they came from, what they look like. This is when we fed general counsel. There's a team of 25 students I have that are on Tajik Sage. It's our language team. So it's produce from our gardens. We started a fire circle. It happens 4 times throughout the summer. We invite our elders out. We have a pigeon, he's our fireman, and he starts it and uses the same log and stuff to run the next one. It's rained every single time. And we built that fire ring out there in the middle of the open, and we never got to use it. We just ended up under the arbor. This is language fair. This was rehearsal. This is before we even went to language fair. We had all these guns and pitching in there for support. That was crazy to see. This is the team on the first day. That's not all of them. This is them performing. It's just pretty scary to go and perform at things like that. They have a lot of courage, a lot of heart. It means a lot to them. We performed for our general counsel. Took some field trips. All the boys ran off that day at Ponca. They had to do push-ups when This is our youth powwow we have for our language team when they come back. They celebrate their success at language fair. All their hard work they do throughout the year to revive their language, speak their language. It was pretty big. This was the biggest one we had. Potato dance. The winners got the sack of potatoes. They have fun. They invite their friends. We performed. We spoke up at Council Grove too. This is part of that Council Grove powwow. This is the artist that drew our Ninja Turtles. You see our Gonze Ninja Turtles. These guys. That's what represents our team, our Taji Sage, our language team. These are just different opportunities we've gotten from our effort. I sent them to Tulsa to this, and I was speaking at Indigenous Peoples Day at Kansas State, reading them all the treaties on. Okay. Gosh,
Good afternoon. After that presentation made by Storman, I kind of feel like that little boy that went to summer camp. He wrote home and said, there are 53 campers out. I wish there were 52. Whatever was said already has been said, you know, and kind of puts it's that man off. You know, I try to understand a little bit about telling something, and I was really confused a little bit. I talked to Bill Lynn about it. I said, what's that mean, you know, intergenerational learning? Well, that's a big word. You know, Ponca de Nyashigama Iya Kigan, who came to Iya no Jin no Awano, Ishaya. Okay, Jinga Maitong, Iya Tinopi, whatever they walk, and you got to Yapon. Jinga Chiega, Yapon, Gawash can walk it. Go long, the mashi, O-gah-pah, and Ekiga, Ewa, we don't know. Okay, what are the no ain't, Jinga, no gone. Gaki, Ushkati. She got they O-gah-pah on bloody. Gone, Ushkati. I see they can go without they don't. So I thought of this idea, you know, of maybe let me get this chair out of the way. I might have to move around, you know, so I don't want to bump into and fall over. You know, I suppose, you know, all of us had to learn from somebody or some source in our lifetime, you know, about our languages, you know, even English. And maybe we copied or we listened or we did something, you know. And I'm always talking about the kids, you know, kids learn how to do something. And I don't know why I have to tell these things, but I do. And, but anyway, they said there was a little boy, you know, he wanted a bicycle. He told his parents, I want a bicycle, you know. Keep getting around about it and never did get it. And so what he does is he thought, well, he had heard people pray about something, pray about it, they want to give me a bicycle. So he didn't know how to pray. And so he said he watched TV, and so happened he was watching a high church worship service, and he listened to the minister pray, and he kind of memorized some of it. So his mother was watching, She knew about the bicycle, you know. So he got down on his knees in the bedroom and he prayed, he says, Almighty and everlasting Father, thou who art the giver of all great things, I am requesting that I might get a transportation called a bicycle, world without end. Amen. And so next morning he looks for his bicycle and there's nothing there. And so he said, well, maybe that didn't work. So he went back to the TV, kind of watched another preacher from Prosperity Church. And so he learned how to pray from there. And again, he goes back to the bedroom and he gets down and sees. He says, Our Father, dear Jesus, I declare my need for a bicycle, and I want it blue, and I want some silver stripes on it. And I expect it to be in the front of my porch at 5 o'clock in the morning. Amen. So, the next morning at 5 o'clock, he goes out there and no bicycle. So this time he comes back around and he's walking around and his mother's watching him. You know, and he looks all over and finally he finds a statue of Mary. He picks up the statue of Mary, sticks it under his arm, and he disperses out the back door into some woods right behind the house. Goes in there, and about 10 minutes later, he comes back in and goes to his room, and he falls on his knees, and he says, Jesus, if you want to see your mother again. Well, you know, I'm not trying to offend anybody. As I said, I don't know why I tell this. So, I suppose, you know, we each desire to receive something, you know, in a manner that's real easy. We try to think of it in terms, you know, it's there and I should be able to get it. I don't think Indians are, I would say Native American. Indian, you know, Western Indians. We're always wanting, we want something, we want it right now, you know. And it seems like it's always the case with our people. But what is kind of, I wrote down something here. What is the thing that we call it? The reason why I couldn't understand it. It's a big, long word. Intergenerational learning. What is it? And I called him over. I called him Bill. What is that? He said, Dwight Howard did that. And so I said, well, he said, well, we're going to talk about some memoirs. He said, I said, well, maybe I can get an idea from that. So I looked it up on the internet as well, you know, and I kind of found out how it works, intergenerational learning. And what I drew from that idea was that we learn within the generation of something, whatever it is we want to learn. We learn it within the generation. And so I thought about how do you learn a language? And that's within the family. We are living in a time right now, it's very crucial to retaining our language. Because most of our tribes, like we Poncas, we don't have our language anymore. It's pretty much lost. I could talk to any one of them in my language and nobody understands me. But yet I noticed a lot of you Omahas, you took that up immediately, you know. And but you know, when we look at our people, we realize how far away we are from learning. Of all people that should talk about it, I think we should be the last. Because we've never had any real organized program to teach the Ponca language. I'm very impressed by it. Stormin always have. Every time I see her, I just compliment her. And she wins awards all the time, you know, and she has her heart in it. No. And she never learned the language totally, but yet she has the capability of teaching it that is just simply amazing. Which just goes to prove it can be done. And you know, I really appreciate that. And so I looked at things, I tried to jot some things down that I thought about, and maybe our concern is how our language, from one generation is going to be passed on to the next. And I look at even the materials that we wrote, and we adopted a system of writing that Kenneth Polk did back in the 1800s. And I talked with several linguists at the University of Nebraska as well as in the University of Oklahoma. And they all agreed. Like when I was in seminary years ago, we had to study ancient Greek, or classic Greek. I said, you can't speak it. You can read it, but you can't speak it. And so as a result, the best way to write is to use diacritics. You can't, because if you have a symbol, such as a Greek alphabet, you know the sound, but you can't pronounce a word with a rhythm and with a pronunciation or enunciation that is supposed to be done. So you have to use something in order to identify a word and to be able to say it correctly. I give you a pretty good example of that, and that's like, you know, all the Ponca guys, girls, they all know when you go to eat somewhere and you don't eat it up and you take it home, we call it O-gah-pah. Now you all know that, O-gah-pah. Now, but I hear these young boys, I heard them talk about it, say, yeah, they got some O-gah-pah over there. That's a different word. That's not O-gah-pah. O-gah-pah is something else. O-gah-pah is out here, and you had some boxes of food. We took all we could, and we got, and if there were some left over, that is O-gah-pah. That's not something we take home. O-gah-pah is what we have, we take home, but not what's sitting on a table that's left over. That's O-gah-pah. O-gah-pah to do with these O-gah-pah. Say, go get some of that just left over there. That's a different word. And so, you know, you have to have a diacritic to show how you pronounce that word. And so when we pass on our language, we learn it from the grown-ups, they're the one that teaches us how to say it, you know. But I think it could be done, you know. And I looked at that very seriously, and I wrote down some examples here. What I thought might be helpful, and that I think this is the way I learned it. For instance, you know, things we customarily do in the family setting. You know, like when we get ready to eat, I can hear my mother and I can hear my grandma say. They say, now this is a woman talking. That's a woman's way of saying it. But if a man said it, he'd say, it kind of sound a little bit more rougher, but it means the same thing, you know. And so I heard that. And so I know when I heard walati, that meant to eat. No question about it. And then another way too that I thought about was the Italians come eat and they say, or do something else. I say, let's see, I'll put one down here. We tell stories. My grandmother was good at telling stories. I wrote all her stories down, and they were good. I don't know if the Omaha's got the same story, but it's about the Ishtinike. Somebody said, okay. But they used to say, Egere Ishtinike we are Belma. Gawa Dahiki Egere Gay we are Kibabelma. So he met up with his turtle and he goes and cooks it and he loses out, because the coyote beat him out of it. And then so I learned that, and I'd hear it during the winter nights, over and over. She'd tell us that story, one about the bear and the Ishtinike, and tell one about this Dhegiha that got his killed and killed a bear, and then I think he was gonna cut up the meat, and he climbed it. He was on there, and this tree squeaked. I said, Columbia Gigiza Belma. You noch idea Gigiza not. So that thing would squeak every time he tried to put a piece in his mouth. And so he said, if you do that again, I'm coming up there. So boy, he squeaked again, so he climbed up the tree and he shakes that tree. And he said, where are you? That's been squeaking. By the way, I have a problem. I fell down. I don't fall down easy when I fall. And I knocked my teeth out and busted my lip open here. And that happened in September. I was going to sue the tribe, but I didn't. Right on the curb in front of my office there. And so since then, I have to be real careful when I talk, you know. I get a little moisture coming out of my mouth here. So you have to speak in here. And so this monkey goes up the tree and shakes this thing up and he gets his arm caught. And he shows his stupidity here at this point. And I'm listening, you know, very intently. What's he gonna do now? He cooked all that meat up. It's laying down there on the ground and he can't do nothing about it. And suddenly he sees a group of, a whole pack of wolves going over there. And he says, right now, I lost my word. Go somewhere else. Don't walk, because you might smell the cooking that did over here. I told those wolves. And the main wolf says, hey, you see, Shaggy, what's he going on? That's a whole snake blue. I eat it too. That's how I don't cut the blue with us. So they ate the body. And that's kind of story of a stupid animal. You got some teachings of morals, and you know, got some teaching of being stupid. And so you learn within the generation there. My grandma passed that on. And then I thought to this, you know, there are rules. After we had spent the day at the river or in the woods, my mother used to say this. When we got back, we've been in our water and in our blood and everything else. She'd say, Kikirija, you know, wash yourself up. Again, that's a woman talking. And then, of course, Dad said, Kikirija, God is at the end of a man's way of talking. You know? And so they say that, and then they tell you to get up early. Said, oh, you get up early. Get up early. So I remember that. I learned these words, you know, just by somebody telling me. And I think that's part of the intergenerational learning, but it's all in your normal course of the day and activities that you start off with when you wake up in the morning. And another good one, back in my day, we never had running water, we never had gas, and indoor restrooms, everything was outside. And we even had a kind of a table. It was a special table where you put your buckets of water on it, and on the end of it you put a wash basin on it. And on the bottom there you had some other stuff, you know, that had to do with washing. That thing was called a need. Need. You put the water on top of it. And but I can remember this so often. And Grandma used to say this. She said, Nege kakaya kaka ni shona ni di jabashi. and that means you didn't get any water. And so it was me and my little brother. When we heard that about the third time, we jumped up and went to get water. Because we knew that she was saying we needed to get buckets of water, you know. And we had to call to get the water quite a ways from the house, you know. So we get over there and we pump it up and then fill up buckets up and bring it back and put it on top of the need. And so that was one of the things that we had to do. The one that Papa said, he said, Jean Osage, go cut wood. So these are common things that we did in the house, you know. Now, I think we can still do the same. If we learned a little phrases that Stormy was teaching, you know, little phrases like that, and apply it to our children. We don't have a program in our tribe, but I could see this actively working if people would use little phrases like that and tell your children good. That's a hard thing to do, by the way. And there's another thing. What way we had to learn was it's in Mama would say, listen when somebody's talking. Yeah, they would tell us that. Those were rules, you know, you have to go by them. And, or you sit quietly. There's a recording that my brother Sylvester Warrior made, and he was teaching recording songs, and one of his kids, my nephew, he was probably making all the noise. And I heard Sylvester in that recording say, be quiet. It was serious. He didn't want nobody to talk. Well, you know, we can learn little statements like that and tell our children, and they learn what it is. And intergenerational learning, I think we're going right down the line here. Then doing all of that, doing chores, Dhegiha and Ponca and O-gah-pah, cut the weeds. We didn't say cut the lawn. We didn't have no lawn. We had weeds. So we had to do all of those. And what about our relationships? Boy, definitely you learned those, didn't you? Your relationship. And so, Dhegiha, we had to see that. Our woman's I mean, Go-hill. And a woman said, Go-ha. All the way down through the line. And we're addressing them, you know, we're talking to them. Or my nephew, you know, don't go. Dijon. my niece. And so on, you know, we call them by their relationship. And so we not only got their attention, but we also know who they are. And Dhegiha, you know, my brother. I don't think the Omahas have a word for brother. They say kage, your little brother, kage. And I guess we could say that too, but let's say, you know, we songa, you know, the younger brother, you know. The younger sister, we hate. You know. I'm talking to you, little one. We need to see kids, little ones, little baby. We use all of those words, you know. So that's part of the use in the home, and we're learning more and more about that. And I think I don't have a whole lot much more on this, and I think another one is interaction with friends. We need to do that maybe more often with our friends. We do it jokingly, and we mess up the language over at Ponca. We'll say, when these young boys, I listen to them use Ponca words, they'll say, they're talking about someone that died. The Poncas would say, Dhegiha. Lingay. Or if we don't have any more left, they'll say Lingay. And they're referring to something that's gone. I notice these young guys today, they don't say the whole thing, they say Ling. Yeah. Ling. And they know what they're saying. And when I first heard it, I thought this was freaking Chinese. Yeah. All that time they were saying Lingay. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, these kinds of things, the crazy things going on a reservation. I don't know if it happens with you guys, but it sure happens with us. And, beautiful. Boy, I tell you. That's why I always say we Poncas were always way behind. We just mess things up. And, but interaction with friends, I think one of the things that we can do, as we did you know that I knew some kids come in and they ask me about their relationship of people and names of their relatives. They expect me to know it. Of course, I compiled those with the help of my father when he was living back in 1960, 61, someplace along there. I wanted to know all the names that were connected to the clans. So I connected all the names of the clans, so I wrote them down. I think I put quite a number of them in the book that I wrote. And it's kind of helpful to a lot of people because they really compliment my tribe. They really compliment me on that, you know. I was really happy to hear that. Members of the tribe actually came and called me up and said, we really appreciate that because now we can do some of our own, you know. And but we can do that by when a child got a name, we should call them by their Indian name or friends. You know, I got a friend by the name of Dhegiha. Dhegiha, I'm talking to you, you know, Dhegiha. Or if somebody's calling another guy, you might call him up and say, let's see. Goodness, where did I lose my place? Well, here it is. Nalclean. That's a non-clan name. Nalclean. That means blaze or burning, something burning. Nalclean. Nalclean. Call him, you know, he's a non-clan member. And then you got another one. Machu no Bill. Talking to you. 2 bears. And Machu Duba. There's 4 bears. We got all kinds of bears up there. I don't know. We got a lot of bears, and we got a standing bear too. You know, of course, he's not my clan member, but he was a Washashi clan. But we do have a lot of them. We got some good names too, you know, that I like. I don't think we have anybody that have these names. You know, Standing Bear had a son by the name of, I think his name was White Shield. And nobody had that name. Yeah, his name was, how do you say it? Shield, I can't remember. Yeah, the Uga'xpa. Yeah, the Uga'xpa. That was Standing Bear's son. And no one's ever used that name. And but those are good names. And Uga'xpa, white deer, and so on. You know, we have so many names, and I can't remember them all. You know, stand up here, you got to think of other things. And then we do this interaction with friends and relatives, like using name calling, not that kind. But observance of special days. You know, we're going to have Christmas. I don't know what Omaha is called Christmas, but we call it O-Guah-Pah. Big sacred day. That's what they call it. O-Guah-Pah. And then we have a name for, let's see, what I wrote down here. Oh, Easter. We call that Wakon using a Nitagi Tilde. It's a long word, several words. Welcome to Dhegiha too. That's Easter. And then we got, Fourth of July. 4th of July, we call that not Dhegiha, not Dhegiha, Omba, not Dhegiha. That's what it is, not Dhegiha. That's when you pop something. And then we have one for Halloween, O-gah-pah. Yeah, O-gah-pah, yeah. So we can teach the kids all of that so they know all the special days in the year, you know. There are others. And then we have our powwow, it's got the dummy, you know, and all this. So y'all come down and dance with us. And so on. And then there's our health. You need to get a good night's rest. Does that mean for me to stop? Maybe they learn before lunch. Yeah. All right. And but anyway, there's time to sleep. When you're a little kid, with little guys, you tell them to say one word, and after they say that one word, they can't talk after that. And that word is soccer. I don't know what that means. But you know, when Grandma said, she'd say, soccer, and me and my brother, and he caught me on the arm, you know, we slept together. So we said, soccer, that we couldn't talk anymore. Had to go to sleep. And so that's a good one. So if you want to put your kids to go to sleep, because if you talk after that, you know, bad things can happen to you. Yeah. Yeah. What about thinking about sleeping, you know, yeah. So we had kind of a nightmare. Something like that. Talking in your sleep. So on. And then you got, as you almost squadry. That means you kick somebody when you sleep. Yeah. My wife was like that. They pointed at each other. You know, and what about latte? And then you have, I thought we said something about Uga'xpa. And we call it Danuka and all that, you know, Danuka and whatever. God knew and shaved all our time. We just had fried potatoes. And C1, whatever, you know, you need all of those. Washing every day. So, I don't suppose he's turkey different. You don't say Dhegiha. What do you call that? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you say horse bunny too. You say Quapaw. Then you also call dog shonky, huh? We call him horse. Shonky. I understand a little bit of Morgan's prayer. Follow it pretty good. I try to follow you too, pretty good, close, you know. I understood Walter Mink. He prayed. I could understand everything. Roman, Eddie Redigo. I made a comment about that one time to, let's see, what was his name? I say Dolly Parton. Pratt. Dolly, was it Dolly Pratt? Yeah. I think she was into Lottie Pratt. That's right. I don't know where I got Dolly Parton. And Lottie Pratt, I told her, I said, I said, Eddie came down and he prayed Ponca wash that one year, years ago. I said, you know, I could understand this, every word he said when he got up there and he prayed. She said, oh, he don't talk Osage, he talks Ponca. I understood there was a kind of a conflict going on there between Pawhuska and Hominy or something like that. But be that as it may. Illnesses? I said, Uga'xpa. He didn't go to school, you know. Uga'xpa. It's called. He got a bad cold. And then they might even, you know, just all kinds of little problems like nichaniye. We won't have a nichaniye with that food we're eating because it's really healthy. I mean, today, that breakfast and that lunch, it was very good for us old guys. Yeah. No skinny, can't help you there. You got a headache. I can tell your husband about it. And exercise. It's only going you got run over there. And you know what we did? When we were kids, we ran. We go fishing down at the mouth of the Arkansas and the Salt Fork River. We call it O-gah-pah. That's our Ponca were named for that place down there. O-gah-pah, donde O-gah-pah. And so where I live, it's about 1.5 miles. So we got down in the woods and there was a path through all of our woods on the reservations. We got down there and we ran without stopping all the way to us. We never walked. And we got through fishing and we ran all the way back. And we just used to do it. Maybe that's why I'm still going. But anyway, the other thing is, running. And guy might be fast, Osage. And they talked about Bemis ribs, Bemis Chrysler ribs. So now she got Washington and muscular. Boy, he was too. He was very muscular man. And he's very impressive. He'll pick up those great big diamondback watermelons, 2 of them at a piece, throw them up to the truck. One hand. He used to pick me and my brother up by our belt here. You can lift us up and exercise. He was quite a guy. But he Washington. They said, Washington, that means you're tough. You're a real tough man. So all little boys, they want to be like that. So you learn things like that right in the home. And the last round was communication. You got to talk. You got to talk to them. And I think they did talk to us. Grandma talked to us. Mama and Papa talked. My older brother, his first language was Ponca. So he could talk Ponca. My next to the oldest brother, he was kind of halfway in between. And I was the youngest. And I had a choice. But you know what I did? All up to 4 years old, my older brother, he's 3, I think about 2.5 years old. He talked. I didn't. And but he understood me. Because when I talk and he said something to me, I said, and I did that till I was 4 years old. I never spoke. And that's God's truth. I wouldn't talk because he did all talking. Why should I talk? and I went like that for a long time, and my sister used to argue. My sisters both were old enough to be my mother. They were older than I. And you know, they brought me into the kitchen one time, and all my relatives were sitting around in there. We just had a little bitty house, you know. And I thought I was wearing a dress. It was yellow. I'm down to about right here. And I come in there, and I was in the middle of the room, and they were telling me to say something. They said, say this, and say this word, say this. I wouldn't do it. I just look at him, and finally said, say it. You know you can say it. And I looked at him, I said, I don't know that word. He said, I told you he could talk. I could talk, but I just didn't do it. So now, communication is so important with the children. You have to talk with them, and I believe they talked with me. And without that communication between parent and child or relatives, we exchange that. Gene Howell, Dwight's dad, he was almost about 4 years older than me. But you know, he used to play cowboys and Indians with me. And we both wanted to be the cowboy. We didn't want to be the Indians. Because we've seen the movies, you know, the Indians always got knocked off the horses. So we didn't want to watch the movies. We didn't want to be Indians. And so, boy, we wanted to be a Lone Ranger, you know, boy, that's a stick horse. But we would talk and we'd use Indian words. And he would say Indian words, and I'd say Indian words back to him, you know, stuff like that. And then we talk like cowboys after that. And I don't know, it was communication that made the difference. And so I think children have to be encouraged to use the words between each other. If they don't, I don't think it's going to be. So communication becomes necessary. Moskane, that's what you say, isn't it? Yeah. You got any money? No. Moska do what we not call. I want to borrow some money from me. I think I hear that even today. Not in Ponca though. And there's another one. I heard they say, I want to go. What now? You know, what we're going to do now. They used to say that, guys to each other, you know, what we're going to do now. So we would go and do something. And I think with that, I want to just finish up with a couple of thoughts that came to my mind. And listening and communicating. I think back in those days we did that. You were expected to listen. You don't want to let it fly by your head, you know, and it's a basic step. You have to pay attention. Our parents encouraged us for that. See, and also we have to understand if somebody said something. Hey, Dish, you know, what are you saying? Yeah. You know, you learn that, and I heard that. Hey, Dish, you know, what are you saying? And little things like that help people to remember. And don't talk either. Until your partner finishes talking. And then paying attention, I guess, more than anything. I could go on that one. Going back to O-gah-pah, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I think I said a lot. If anybody's got a question, you're welcome to ask me. You'll answer a question. If you ain't got one, then I'll just sit down. So, Uga'xpa.
Idaho is actually we today, Abby the Flash Mary. Idaho is actually we today, Fred Mary, chopping up my eating. Today, I want to share with you a part of my life that kind of took me in a big circle, as all of our lives do. But in the beginning, I started my education. I started going to school at this St. Augustine's Indian Mission. I had two brothers a sister already there. And when I got there, well then, it was about 100 kids from different tribes, all the way down to Kansas to South Dakota and Nebraska. Most of us for Winnebago and Macy. I don't want to get started on the Winnebago, so that might go sideways. But this school, is in Winnebago, and it provided education. It was a boarding school. And well, before I get started, I see my sister back there, my uncle Dhegiha. When I start going too far, or going over to the right too far, or to the left, you know, I've seen her do that a lot of times to my Dhegiha. So. But anyway, the school provided quality education. And this was in 1964 when I first went there. I remember before that when we'd go there in our car, I remember the cars that had that strap in the back seat, you know, and I remember we'd be going down the road and I could see that. I could see that tower over there. I said, oh, look, there's the mission. Boy, my old 200 brothers, man, just slapped me up. Man, you don't have to stay. But I did the next year. And I started going to school there. And, you know, at that time, there wasn't any of our young people, the students that could speak their language. There was Sioux and Ponca, Omaha, Uga'xpa. There was a lot of different tribes there. And we didn't speak our language. We were all English speaking kids. So it was hard for us to, I guess, getting older to regain our language. And I remember the sisters being there, and they had a tough job now I think about it. You know, there was like 100 of us kids, and it was like 6 or 7 sisters that took care of us 24/7, you know. It was a tough job. And but this is kind of where I started. When I was a young kid, that's where I started school. And that's the beginning. But let me talk a little bit about as I got older. Not too long ago, I was speaking with one of my older sisters, my older relative. Her name was Liz Wiles. And we were talking, and she was telling me, she said, when I was a little girl in Macy, we all called each other by our Indian names. Well, at that time, she's quite older. At that time, we all spoke the language. And everybody called each other by their Indian names. And she said, I was ashamed of my Indian name. I didn't like it because of what it translated to in English. And I asked her, I said, well, when did it translate? Well, she comes from the Register clan in our tribe, from the Elk clan. And she was telling me, she said, when I was a little girl, other kids used to tease me. Because what my name translated to English, what it meant, and her name was Ponca. And when it translated to English was scabby nose. And she didn't like it. so she was ashamed of it. And she was telling me, though, she said, in my later years, when it was explained to me better, then I became proud of it. She said, what that name means, and this is how bad the English language is when it comes to describing or interpreting. Things can get twisted. And what it means is more than what the English language could offer. What it meant was the time in the fall when the bull elk would shed its muzzle. In that period of time, it was a sacred time for this elk taking this transformation, and like a snake, it would shed its skin. But what it turned into was a velvet, and it was beautiful. Something you would like to touch. And when she understood that part of the what it meant, it made her very proud of her name. But like what I was saying, we become a part of the English language by trying to translate it, and it doesn't come out right. It doesn't have the effect we have as people, as Omaha people, or Ponca people, Quapaw people, Kanza, Osage. We all have that. Our native people, we have a very, very beautiful language, and the meaning can't be comprehended or explained in a lot of the English language. So here we are today trying to take something that the English language, which is confusing and foreign to us, and we try to learn. We're trying to learn back what we had. And right away when I was driving in, I seen a big sign that said, wait. In our language, that we say that to each other. Somebody might be telling a fib or exaggerated. Somebody say, wait, that guy. H-done. I think that H-done traveled quite a ways, But that's the view that I have of as a teacher. I work at the school, St. Augustine's Indian Mission. I started going to school there, and today I'm an older man, and I find myself back there again. And it was, when I left that school, I think it was at the end of the 6th grade, and I left in a bitter way. I wanted nothing to do with the Catholics. I don't want nothing to do with the religions that are out there. And I kind of wandered on this earth for quite a while. I could have gone the rest of my life without either speaking or talking to a nun. Sometimes when I walk by a nun, I always flinch, like that. But I worked at the Nebraska Indian Community College also with Alice Fremont in the language department years ago. And I had an opportunity to go to school or go to teach at St. Augustine's. But I guess what brought this all on, one night I was at a basketball game, school basketball game, and this guy come up to me and he asked me, is your name Pierre? And I said, yeah. And he said, I just, I wanted to ask you something. He said, my name is Father Dave. I said, Father Dave? He said, you got a brother named Dave? I said, yeah. And my older brother, he goes to church every Sunday, even today. But he's also a traditional man. But Father Dave asked me, he said, it's been 100 years since St. Augustine's was founded. And I would like to sponsor 4 sweats. And I would ask you if you could do that for me. And you know, all of us, we're mourning. We're angry of the treatment that our ancestors got in all these boarding schools across America. The mistreatment, the death, all that happened over the years. We still have that bitter, hard spot in our heart. And when he asked me to do this, I said, well, you know, we're at a basketball game, and maybe you should come to my house and I'd rather talk to you there. That's proper. And bring me a pack of cigarettes. Barbara lights. So he did that, and we talked, and I told him, I said, you know, I can't speak for all the children, all the families, all the people that have gone through boarding schools since the beginning of that. I can't speak for them. But now that you brought this to my attention, I'm a Sundancer. I took a hold of that, and the sweat lodge and the pipe. And I live that life today. I said, well, you know, after thinking about it, I said, okay, I'll do that. So we went ahead and we began. We had a 4-day sweat lodge. And, you know, there was a lot of things that came to me during that time. I had, all my life I've had long hair. All my life I wore braids, and until I got about, I don't know, about 55 years old, or then my ponytail got to be small, you know. But during that time of them sweats, myself, I had to think about what was going on in my life. And being a Sundancer, being a man of the pipe, I realized that in the sweat and around that way, it's all about healing. It's all about forgiveness. It's all about trying to let go of what's haunting you in your life. So I accepted that, and then by the fourth sweat, I came to realize that I was carrying this anger in my life. All them years, I was carrying it. And like I said, you know, it would have been all right with me if I never talked to her, or see the sister or the father. It was all right with me. But here, I had this changing time in my life. I realized that if I couldn't forgive, if I couldn't do that, I had no business in that sweat lodge. I had no business sitting there pouring the water, talking about healing, encouraging our young people in recovery from alcohol and drugs, domestic violence. I had no business talking to them. So I had to do that. I had to shake that feeling through prayer. And I was able to do that. And I felt good after that fourth sweat. I thanked the Father. His name's Father Dave Court. And he was the head of the school, St. Augustine's Indian Mission. And today, he's one of my good friends. And he embraced that. He explained it as I explained it to him. I said, I'm not trying to recruit anybody to this. I can pray for people to make their journey here and find their place in this DOP, this sweat lodge. I can do that. I can hope and pray for my relatives, find their way to Wakanda. And it happened, things started happening. Back in 1991, I embraced the Sundance at the Dhegiha. Found myself out there dancing, sacrificing, going without food, going without water for 4 days and for 4 nights. I found myself on the hill, sacrificing. And these things, it's what I became. I'm a recovering person for 33 years. There's things that have happened to me over these 33 years that have changed my life. It allowed that person that was dysfunctional and ugly and hard to be around to allow me to let other things come step forward, this other person. So today I'm a teacher at the St. Augustine's Indian Mission. And I teach from kindergarten to the 8th grade. And I probably went to church maybe this many times since then, but I found myself going back there in a friendly way. I found that I could live in that world too. I find different things in my life that I'm really fortunate that I went there. Aside from my heart feelings, we got 3 meals a day, a safe place to sleep at night, and we received a good education. Sure, we were disciplined. I was pretty bad guy. My brothers were there. They were. I see them guys get slapped around a few times, and I learned right away. So I was able to take care of that. But today, when I teach there part time, 4 days a week, and I have 15 minutes with all the kids every day. And I'm glad it's only 15 minutes, because boy, I tell you. But I've been able to teach them numbers, colors, animals, words, feelings. And one of the things that I'm proud to say that I teach them how to pray. I know prayer is kind of outlawed in schools in America nowadays, but this is what I offer. The school has to be satisfied with that. But this was the school when way before my time. It was the old mission, the old sisters and the priests. When I was a kid, this priest was there, Monsignor Frank, and they tried to give us that culture. They made efforts. I can't say they did, but in a way, I think that we were, I don't know what you say, you know, they put out there in front to show poor little Indian kids, you know. But I don't know if that's me or not. But there was a Omaha Winnebago band that taught us how to make our bustles and turn the tape recorder on and when we take off. They take us to their benefactors to perform. It never stuck with me, but I got friends that after we left St. Augustine's, they continued. I have a friend that is a Santee. He's one of the founders of Azapute Singers. His name's Kayla Strickland. One of my Omaha brothers that was a fancy dancer. Today he's Ishahage. He still gets around. His name is Johnny Alexander. I have a Santee friend, Frankie Campbell, you didn't get, that still danced. And they tried their best, I might say. They tried their best to engage in both worlds. But like I said, when I left in a bitter way. They still do that today. They still offer this father here, Father Steve Bowes. He's the Duda of Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska, which is it's an international treatment facility for children that are going through that are having a hard time with alcohol and drugs. And today he was there back then, or not back then, but some time ago. And today he's runs a Boys Town. And Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska is a school of all colors, everybody. We have 20 students there, native students. Some of Lakota and O-gah-pah and Ho-Chunk. And Father Steve, about 15 years ago, we were talking, and he made an offer to me to come to Boys Town and build a sweat lodge and come pray with our kids. In our Omaha way, a long time ago, my dad told me, he said, our people used to sweat just 4 times a year. Would sweat whenever the season changed. At that time, he said, we didn't have 4-wheel drives and chainsaws. And our land up there, we have a lot of timber, but no rocks. But we live right next to the Missouri River, and for a long time, Army Corps of Engineers, they didn't know, but they were taking care of us. In our sweat lodge, so whenever we prayed, we'd always mention the Army Corps of Engineers, brought us some sweat rocks. Well, there's a group of men, Ishages, and they're here today, some of them. Donald Grant, you see back there, my brother Donald. My brother Calvin, right here. My uncle, Dhegiha. Welcome, Tindo. My relative Arlington, sought to see. Dwight Howe. So for the past 15 years or so, we've been 4 times a year, we've been sweating at the Boys Town kids. There's like 11 girls and 11 boys the last time we went. They gave us all, they just asked us, what do you need? So we was able to get canvas. We said, we need 20 by 20. We ordered up. We had to build a privacy fence, running water right there, shelter, all the wood. Boy, you got a whole bunch of work for us here. So every time the season changed, my relatives, we go down there and we pray with our young people. Because they need that. They need that connection. Yet, because they're still there in the boarding school. Boarding school still exists. There's no maltreatment, no more. But they're in a big city in Omaha, Nebraska. They're away from their families. It's an all-year school. They don't go home. Just periodically. My son graduated from there. He went there, and I think that's when this whole thing started with me and the priest, because they live in big mansions, beautiful, beautiful homes, like 10 children in the home. It's a huge, huge place. And when my son went to school there, I gave him a ball of sage, and I told him, I said, one time it's tough. When you get lonesome, and when you wanna quit, you wanna call me and quit. Use this, take some of it, burn it. And what I did do was tell the people at Waystone, his house parents, about that. And one night about 11 o'clock, they called me and they said, you gotta come back to your son. I said, what's going on? He said, I think he's smoking some. And we don't know what it is, but whatever it is, we can't have that here. You gotta come down here right now. That's a good hour and a half drive. So I went down there, I got him. Then I came back and the following week and met with Father Steve and the rest of them. And explained to them, that sage, it's nothing like what you think. And it's it's common that you would think that, being walker and everything. I got dispensing. I said, I know that's what you would think, but that's not how it is. So that journey to building a relationship began about then. And my brother Dwight Howell, we went down there. We continue to do that. We're involved with them, with our kids, whatever we can. And today, the communication, the door is open to our youth and our family services and on our reservation. They have a positive relationship with Waystone today. So we've been talking with them, and they've done everything that we asked. So I'm proud of that. This other man here, this other priest is Father Dave. He had to leave Boystown because I guess they rotate their priests, but he has his own church north Omaha. And he asked us, that's one of the few times, I think that's the only time us guys ever went to church together. Me, Dwight, Galvin, his wife, we all went down there to Father Dave's first Mass, and I was, they got an 8 o'clock Mass where, people come in there and, Our Father, Hail Mary, and all that. And then they got a 10 o'clock Mass, and that's for this other group of people. And they get pretty jiggy, and they got a band. I mean, they start rocking like this, and we're all just standing there, like, wow, these guys are doing something here. But today we have that, and I'm really glad to say that I'm involved with our group of elders for the Omaha Nation. And this guy here is currently the director of St. Augustine's. And Father Dave, after the first sweat, we kind of thought he wasn't gonna come back after that. Because when he came out, it was like red, you know. We burned him up pretty good. But he kept continuing to come back. And you know, I'm surprised, you know, he understands we were trying to recruit him. The way that we believe is spirituality. It's not Christianity or any kind of church. And we were, you know, we come there to pray and make that sacrifice to the Creator, to Wakanda. And when this new priest came, well, he stepped right in there too, and we cooked him up too. He comes to us like pretty regular. And I'm really surprised that the sisters come. We had some sister come. She was from Africa. And man, she liked that. She liked that because she likes that Africa hot. But this priest here, he's a very good man. Today, just the other day, well, we have a brand new school, $5 million school at St. Augustine's. And it just got done, and this fall is going to be our first year in it. And the old school sits right next to it. The old school was there when I was there. I was kind of happy to see that one go because I was driving by the other day and the bulldozers, and it was dust or flying. That's all right, good riddance. Now we got a brand new school there. Begin our new school. And today it's a day school. Well, it's no longer a school, and we still have the sisters are still there. These sisters are different from what I do. You know, they're very good people. We offer all kinds of different sorts of education. We have an outdoor classroom there. Before I worked there, my brother Dwight was a teacher there. And this year, outdoor classroom, him and Father Dave, they're the ones that put this together. It's beautiful. And, you know, that's something that I think there's the old school that just got knocked over. But these are the things, some of the things that the teachers and our superintendent of the schools, this guy, he's O-gah-pah, and he's also a deacon. And I don't know what that is, but that's something. And this is when we have this opening of the school year. This is me, one of my brother-in-law, Dhegiha. This is Headman, Carlos spoke. He passed away here a few months ago. But he came there to bless the school, and I sure miss him. The Calvin and I, we used to sing on a big drum with him. These teachers are something else. You know, I never was a teacher. I never thought about it, never considered it, but here I am. And they have the patience that I could never have. That's why I'm glad I only spend like 15 minutes with each class. Pretty good. But like I was saying, I teach them prayer. Every day when I walk in, I interact with them. I say, Atiho, I'm here. And the kids, they all say, Wishti Ati. So wherever I see them, they say, Wishti Ati. And then I teach them, we go over prayer. Wakanda Mama de Riba. Idano Bluba Udishkai. Tiuji Wita Ama Awakiwa. Ukite Amasti Ewe. Wakanda Mama de Riba. God, thank you for this day. Idano Kubo Udishkafe. Everything that you do is good. Diyoshi, we the Ama people. I want to pray for my family. Ukite. Ukite. There we go, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. My brain kind of went this way for a second. But that's what, we do every day. There, there's real, one day I was teaching, I think it was the 4th grade. And I was telling them, I said, I can see a police officer in here. I could see a nurse over there. I could see a doctor here. When I was going around, one little girl, I was asking her, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, she said, I want to be an Omaha language teacher. And the real funny thing about this school is, this school has Omaha and Ho-Chunk kids. There's a lady that teaches Ho-Chunk also. So I was really shocked when this little Ho-Chunk girl stood up and said, I want to be an Omaha language teacher. Sure made me feel good. And I've been stopped a lot of times where parents would say, thank you for teaching them how to pray. My granddaughter, she just every meal she says that prayer. So it really makes me feel good, that they're using the language, they're using it like that. And the parents, I thought at first, maybe there'd be a problem with the Ho-Chunk kids, the Ho-Chunk parents, their children being taught the Waha language, But I haven't gotten any complaints yet, at least not to my face, But, the language itself, it's, we talk about slang, we talk about changing the language of what it was to what they change it today. In our language we say, "Weebaho," and thank you. Weebaha, for the women. And Ho-Chunks, they say, "Penegigi," for thank you. And one day, one little kid said, "Weebagigi." I said, "What?" Oh, watch your mouth, that was so. But anyway, that's what we're doing today. And today, just the summer, and I took a job with my brother Dwight. He's directing a living language grant, and my brother Dwight, he came home in the 90s, and when he came home, I was out there sun dancing. He's about 3 months older than I am. I was out there sun dancing, and he came there, and he seen us, and he realized to himself, this is where I'm at, I should be. And I like that for my brother. He's part Omaha and Ponca. And he said when he was younger, living in Waidiko, up that way, he said, the people would say, there's that Omaha boy. There, come back up home here. He was at bingo. He heard that old guy say, there's that Ponca boy. But he's in Road Omaha. He's my brother. I love him. But he's been inspired a lot of us to do the things we do. He's become a positive role model to our young children, our adults, our young parents. And this grant that we're doing, these men are here. We have an elders group that we meet every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, and we we're using the technology. We video each other. And if it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but we talk about our youth and we talk about the language, we speak the language. And we help each other. We're leaving an imprint of ourselves so the generations to come. As I was introducing myself, I said, my mother's, her name was Abby LaFleche. Her father was Carrie LaFleche. Carrie LaFleche's older brother was Francis LaFleche, who wrote the books in Omaha language. His older sister was Dr. Susan LaFleche. Suzette LaFleche, that accompanied Standing Bear in court. These are great civil rights leaders. It's like Martin Luther King. Very proud of our Ponca relatives. A lot of people say a lot of the flesh people are Poncas. I will have to test that. I think I might jump ship. No. I'm very proud of being here today with all the people. Omaha, Ponca, O-gah-pah, Kansas, Osage. I'm very proud to be a part of this family of people. You're all my relatives. And we're talking about a grant. You know, every day, every opportunity we get, we try to speak our language with each other. And we have the support of our elders. And at first we tried to have a men and women's group. That didn't work out. Not very good. But because we speak two different ways of talking, men and women. But in our tribe, we have a lot of programs. I mean, going in the direction of saving our language. And I'm really glad to be here, to be a part of this. And what I hear and see, and the people I'm meeting, you know, it motivates me to keep trying. I'm also a part of our Dr. Picot, Dr. Suzette. I'll tell you a little bit about her. That was my grandma. She was the first native doctor, medical doctor in America. In 1915, she had a hospital built in Walk Hill, Nebraska, on an Omaha Indian reservation. And she graduated first of her class in a women's medical school in Pennsylvania. And I think it was 1902 or something like that. And she could have went anywhere in America to be a doctor. She was being enticed by her friends. Come to Washington. Come to Philadelphia. Come to Boston. You can have all we got. You can have everything we have here. But she chose to come back to the Omaha Indian Reservation, where she lived, and she rode a horse and buggy to see her patients. She automatically became the doctor to non-Indians, alike with all of the Omaha and Ho-Chunk people. Anybody that needed healing, she took care of them that way. Very proud of her for what she did. So we're, me and Dwight and Calvin, we're on the board for that. Where we a person wrote a book, Dr. Desiree wrote a book about Dr. Susan, what she accomplished with the hospital. And the hospital was recognized as one of the top 11 or 12 most endangered historical site in America. And through that, it brought a lot of attention. And today, I think it was like 2016, we got involved with their existing board was only 3 people. But my brothers and I, and Calvin, White, Richard Ashley, and my brother Nate, we all became part of that board. And today we've raised maybe $5 billion, $6 billion. And next year we'll be having a grand opening. I mean, it has she has an operating room. It's a 3-story building. And we've been able to use what she had before, and we're next year, I think next year, it'll be finished, and we'll open it for the public. But not just her. I mean, there have been Native Americans. Who's that? Wakanda? Who's that? Wakanda? I see my sister over there like this. But yeah, we sit in a sweat one time, and I had my phone in my pocket, and Pierre went off, and I was talking. I opened it. I said, "Oh, Wakanda." Good talking. But yeah, I kind of wanted to share that with you. And today we're doing things, and all of you are doing things. All of you are have this concern that without our language, our tribes, we're nobody. Without our language, we're just like Oaxacs. We need to preserve our culture, our language, different things about who we are. Other day, I went to went to a feast that they had. They're our neighbors, and my wife is Ho-Chunk, so I can't say too many bad things. But I went to watch them, and I went to the feast, and I see what they were doing and how they were doing things. And they usually do a cafeteria style meals, but us guys, us Omahas, we're probably like everybody down here. We put all our food in the middle, set a circle, and every time I get a chance at different places, I have to tell the story about our culture, about when we eat together. A long time ago, our people, when they go on a buffalo hunt, and when they come back, or it could have been harvesting, whatever, when they come back, and they bring it all to the center of the camp. And our clans is a wages thing, in case of it, hunger, natana, kosi, Uga'xpa, Desiree, Quapaw, Dhegiha, and Ishtasana. These clans, they all had it's like the rest of us probably, they all had a function in the tribe to make our people live. And in case of it, what it was that when we brought the buffalo meat back, it what it was that took this meat and separated it to each camp to make sure that each camp had something to eat. Each family, nobody's going to go without. They were in charge of that. They were in charge of the buffalo hunt. And so today, when we do that, we put our food in the middle. We have somebody in charge. A man says the prayer. the kids, the case of the people today, get out there, get that food and take it around. Start over here at the east. Where's the east now? Start to go around. And the man in charge, he watches. Nobody eats. Nobody eats. He watches till everybody, last person, has got food on their plate. And he's going to say, go ahead, run out the food. Everybody eat together. And that's how we do it back home. I try to make that, to help our people learn when I go to functions, to tell the story of what we do. And today our people like each other. Today we live in a world where we have a cake with frosting on it and a picture. Today we have somebody on the case of the plant come there and market to separate it, to show that the vision that it's going in all directions. So that everybody's gonna get something. That's what it's come to. That cake replaced the buffalo. But so today I think about that, and I think about how we're going to survive in the future. We have to be good to one another. We have to encourage each other, empower each other in the language. Don't be critical about each other if we say the wrong thing. If we make mistakes, be forgiving. So I don't know. My sister over there didn't say nothing yet, so I'm talking good. I don't know. But these are the things that, today in my life, this is what's going on. Now that's the school that this is the new school, and there's the old school right below it. And the new school is pretty big. Like I was saying the other day, I was going by the highway down there, and I see the big bulldozers tearing that school down. I got a classroom in one of them trailers right there. They had a whole chunk feature. Our tribes have really come together. We're not bad or separated as time was years ago. Today, there's Omaha people that are half. There's Merrick kids, Merrick Ho-chunks on there in Rome. We've grown closer together, but we're still different. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, St. Augustine's, and today I'm looking at, I'm not sure yet, but when school starts, I don't know if I'll be going back because I really want to help Dwight, my brother Dwight, with the grant that he's working on. But then, somebody would take my place. There's a lot of good people there that have the same motivation to save our people, save our language. So with that, relatives, I want to say thank you for your attention. Thank you to the Quapaw, O-gah-pah people for having this every year. Our people look forward to coming here. We have a lot of teachers that, like I said, there's people that stand up and take my place later on, And I just hope that cycle continues to grow amongst every tribe. We have to save what we have. Take care of our elders. You know, we say that, we talk that quite a bit. But we have to do that, we have to really do that, you know. About 3 weeks ago, we were having a sweat and it was just me and my two brothers there, my brother Dwight, and my older brother Nate. The wood and rocks were ready and we're sitting there looking at each other and said, well, who's gonna carry him in? So this could take all night, because we're gonna take turns carrying one in at a time. So they by that they're gonna be cold. But one of my grandsons, he showed up. We'll call him my grandson, you know. My grandson showed up and helped us, you know, brought the rocks in, got in there, sang songs for us, and all that, you know. But I want to say thank you to Bill, Dhegiha, the committee, the people that are in charge of this. And I thank you for your attention, for doing this, for everybody. I'm really getting a lot of good out of it. You know, this thing, and I sure have a good time when I'm here. So with that, David, the longer it.